For millennia, the Earth has guarded secrets that defy explanation. Monuments carved with uncanny precision, artifacts buried so deep they've been erased from memory, and symbols whose meanings vanish the moment we try to grasp them. Across deserts, dense jungles, and sunken ruins, whispers of lost civilizations linger, hinting at knowledge humanity was never meant to uncover. What were these ancient architects hiding? And why do some of their creations seem impossibly advanced for their time? Tonight, we embark on a journey through 3 hours of enigmatic discoveries, hidden for centuries, inviting you to step closer, challenge what you know, and witness the extraordinary. Nestled on the windswept plains just north of Lima, Peru, the remnants of El Paraíso rise like silent sentinels over the Chillon River Valley. From a distance, the site appears deceptively modest. Low, terraced mounds of sun-baked adobe, their edges softened by centuries of erosion, grasses swaying in the dry coastal breeze. Yet, step closer, and the scale of human effort becomes unmistakable. Walls stretching hundreds of meters, some reaching nearly 5 meters in height, meticulously arranged to form vast platforms that hint at purpose beyond mere shelter. The desert sun casts long shadows across these ancient stones, revealing subtle patterns, abrupt alignments, and geometric forms that invite contemplation. What motivated the builders of these structures so long ago, around 2000 BC? El Paraíso is part of a larger network of preceramic sites along the central Peruvian coast, a period when communities relied primarily on fishing, small-scale agriculture, and trade with neighboring valleys. Archaeologists have long emphasized its importance as one of the earliest monumental constructions in the Americas, a testament to social organization, labor coordination, and early ceremonial practices. Carbon dating confirms that these mounds predate the Great Pyramids of Egypt by several centuries, situating El Paraíso at a pivotal moment in the evolution of complex societies in the region. Yet, despite these established facts, a sense of enigma clings to the site. Why were such enormous structures erected in a society that otherwise appears to have left few written records? Scholars suggest practical purposes, defensive positions, flood mitigation, or ceremonial centers honoring deities connected to fertility and the river that sustained them. Yet, the alignment of some platforms along cardinal directions, combined with the presence of abstract carvings and enigmatic grooves along the adobe walls, hints at intentions not fully understood. Were these merely functional decisions, or did they reflect knowledge of astronomy, sacred geometry, or cosmological belief systems now lost to time? Visitors often remark on the silence that pervades the site. Even as the wind rustles through sparse vegetation, there is a strange stillness, a sensation that one is walking through a landscape carefully designed to evoke awe, contemplation, or perhaps even ritual. Some researchers have posited that the scale of the architecture, combined with the apparent lack of domestic features such as hearths or extensive living quarters, indicates that El Paraíso may have served primarily as a ceremonial or pilgrimage site, an early sacred landscape where humans sought to negotiate with forces they could neither see nor fully comprehend. Beyond the mainstream interpretations, alternative theories linger at the edges of academic discussion. Some speculate that the construction techniques, the precision of the terracing, and the sheer volume of earth moved might suggest knowledge or methods that are not fully explained by current understanding of pre-ceramic technology. Could there have been lost engineering practices, forgotten traditions of labor organization, or symbolic knowledge encoded in the very layout of the pyramids? And if so, why was such knowledge not passed down in written form or more visible traces? Perhaps the most compelling mystery lies not in the structures themselves, but in what remains buried beneath the sands. Archaeologists have excavated only a fraction of the site. Hidden chambers, subterranean passages, or undiscovered artifacts may still lie beneath layers of adobe and soil. What secrets did the builders intend to leave for the ages? and what truths might we never recover? As the sun dips toward the horizon, the elongated shadows of the pyramids stretch across the valley, merging earth and sky in a quiet, almost imperceptible dialogue. Standing here, one cannot help but feel the weight of time, the persistence of human ambition, and the enduring questions that El Paraíso poses. Who were the people who shaped this landscape, and what were they trying to communicate across millennia? In the absence of definitive answers, the mystery remains, silent, patient, waiting for the next careful observer to wonder what else might still be hidden. From the wind-swept plains of Peru, we turn our gaze across the seas to the island of Crete, where sunlight glances off pale stone walls and shadows pool within the labyrinthine corridors of Knossos. Rising from a gentle hill near Heraklion, the palace of Knossos sprawls over an area larger than many modern city blocks, a tangle of rooms, staircases, and interconnected passageways. Even in ruins, the complexity is staggering. Narrow corridors wind unpredictably, doorways open into unexpected chambers, and staircases twist in ways that seem almost intentionally disorienting. The palace feels alive with memory, as though the walls themselves remember the countless footsteps, whispers, and secrets of a civilization that thrived over 3 millennia ago. Excavated most famously by Sir Arthur Evans in the early 20th century, Knossos is often described as the heart of Minoan civilization, a society that flourished from around 2000 to 1400 BC. The Minoans are credited with advanced urban planning, vibrant frescoes, and sophisticated water and drainage systems, achievements that continue to impress modern engineers and historians alike. Yet beyond the visible artistry and ingenuity, Knossos harbors another kind of intrigue: the hidden passageways and subterranean corridors that lace the palace like veins, linking rooms in ways that defy straightforward explanation. What purpose did these concealed routes serve, and why were they designed with such deliberate complexity? Archaeologists suggest several practical explanations. Some passageways may have facilitated the movement of servants, artisans, or priests, enabling discreet access to ceremonial chambers or storage areas. Others could have functioned as escape routes during periods of conflict, a hidden network allowing the palace's inhabitants to vanish unseen. Evidence of sophisticated ventilation and drainage in some corridors further suggests that utility and engineering played a role in their design. Yet, the deliberate twists, sudden dead ends, and unexpected junctions hint at intentions beyond the purely functional. Were these passageways simply a solution to practical needs, or did they reflect a symbolic or ritualistic dimension of Minoan life? Visitors often remark on the disorienting sensation of walking these corridors. Even today, with detailed maps and guided tours, it is easy to become momentarily lost among the labyrinthine layout. Evans himself popularized the idea of Knossos as a literal labyrinth, inspiring connections to the myth of the Minotaur, a half-man, half-bull creature said to dwell within a maze beneath the palace. While most historians treat the myth as allegorical, it raises questions about the palace's psychological impact on those who walked its halls. Was the architecture designed to impress, to intimidate, or perhaps to convey deeper symbolic meaning through movement and spatial experience? Further intrigue emerges from the palace's structural irregularities. Certain corridors are narrower than others, some walls exhibit unusual reinforcements, and small hidden rooms remain unexplored or only partially excavated. Scholars debate whether these features represent later modifications, deliberate architectural experimentation, or lost ritual spaces whose functions are now unknowable. Could some passageways have served as ceremonial thresholds, deliberately confusing visitors as part of religious practice? Or do they conceal something still buried beneath layers of earth and debris, waiting for future archaeologists to uncover? Beyond scholarly conjecture, alternative interpretations linger quietly at the edges of research. Some theorists propose that the palace's complexity reflects knowledge of geometry or symbolism encoded in the layout, an understanding of spatial patterns, cosmic alignment, or even acoustic design that would amplify sound in ceremonial spaces. Others suggest that Knossos, with its hidden chambers and twisting corridors, may have been a site of secretive ritual, preserving knowledge or practices that vanished when the Minoan civilization declined around 1400 BC. Whatever the truth, these theories underscore one enduring reality. The palace is more than a collection of walls and frescoes. It is a testament to a people whose sophistication, imagination, and perhaps even cunning continue to provoke wonder. As daylight filters through crumbling columns and frescoed walls, the shadows of Knossos stretch into the corners of the palace, merging past and present. Each corridor holds echoes of footsteps that walked here thousands of years ago, whispers of decisions, ceremonies, and secrets now lost to time. The hidden passageways invite us to consider not only how the Minoans lived, but why they structured their world in ways that still puzzle us today. What messages, rituals, or knowledge might these concealed corridors have carried? And what remains buried, waiting silently for those patient enough to follow the twists and turns? In the stillness of Knossos, one is left with a profound sense of human ambition and mystery intertwined. The palace is both familiar and unknowable, a place where every corner holds the potential for discovery, and every shadow asks a question that may never be fully answered. From the twisting corridors of Knossos, we return to the high Andes of Peru, where the mist drapes itself over the rugged slopes of the Vilcabamba Range, and the forgotten city of Choquequirao emerges like a secret revealed only to the most persistent explorers. Unlike the more famous Machu Picchu, Choquequirao sits perched on a remote mountain ridge, its terraces cascading steeply toward the Apurimac River far below. From a distance, it seems almost suspended between earth and sky, as if the mountain itself had conspired to hide the city from the eyes of the world. The stone walls, partially reclaimed by dense vegetation, glimmer faintly in the early morning sun, hinting at monumental structures whose full scale is still difficult to comprehend. Choquequirao, whose name in Quechua translates roughly to cradle of gold, is estimated to have been established in the 15th century, during the height of the Inca Empire. Archaeologists believe it functioned as both a ceremonial center and a strategic stronghold, a city designed to be defensible, sacred, and perhaps deliberately elusive. Its sheer altitude, over 3,000 meters above sea level, and its location along treacherous ridges meant that it remained largely untouched by Spanish conquistadors, a hidden jewel that evaded the historical record for centuries. Even today, reaching Choquequirao requires days of trekking through steep mountain trails, a journey that only reinforces the sense that this was a city meant to be veiled, not revealed. The city's architecture is astonishing in both scale and sophistication. Terraces sweep down the mountainside with precise stonework, forming agricultural platforms that could feed a substantial population. Intricate plazas, temples, and staircases interconnect the city's various levels, creating a spatial rhythm that suggests both practical functionality and ceremonial intent. Scholars note that some of the plazas align with the sun's path during solstices, hinting at astronomical observation or ritual significance. Yet, despite these insights, many aspects of Choquequirao remain perplexing. Certain buildings appear unfinished, walls contain stones whose purpose is unclear, and some structures are positioned in ways that suggest knowledge of terrain, hydraulics, or symbolism that has been lost to time. The mystery deepens when considering Choquequirao's relationship with other Inca sites. It lies roughly 70 kilometers from Machu Picchu, connected by ancient trails that wind over high passes and through deep canyons. Some researchers propose that Choquequirao served as a complementary hub to Machu Picchu, a twin city designed to reinforce the empire's presence across the region. Others suggest a more enigmatic purpose. Perhaps it was a spiritual sanctuary, a place of pilgrimage where the Inca elite and priests conducted ceremonies known only to those initiated into sacred knowledge. The city's remote location, combined with its striking orientation toward surrounding mountains and rivers, evokes questions about whether its builders were guided solely by practical concerns, or by an understanding of landscape, energy, or cosmology that we cannot yet comprehend. Among the unexplained features are the hidden terraces, niches, and pathways that wind through the city's upper levels. Certain staircases seem to lead nowhere, while some walls contain recesses whose purpose remains speculative. Were these spaces designed for ritual, for storage of precious objects, or perhaps as secret passages allowing movement unseen? There are even accounts from local Quechua storytellers describing subterranean tunnels connecting Choquequirao to other sacred sites in the region, passages that might have enabled discreet travel, ceremonial processions, or protection in times of conflict. While no definitive evidence of such tunnels has been found, the stories persist, blending historical memory with the allure of mystery. The city's agricultural terraces also pose questions. Their precision is remarkable, yet some appear positioned on seemingly impractical slopes, requiring sophisticated engineering to prevent landslides or erosion. Were these terraces simply utilitarian, or did they carry symbolic meaning, perhaps representing cosmic order or aligning with celestial cycles? And what of the materials used in construction? The carefully cut stones, the interlocking walls designed to withstand earthquakes. Does this speak solely to practicality, or to a knowledge that has not been fully decoded by modern archaeology? Choquequirao's isolation amplifies its sense of otherworldliness. As one walks along the narrow paths hugging the mountain ridges, with clouds swirling below and jagged peaks on all sides, there is a profound awareness that this city was built to endure, to remain hidden, and to communicate something beyond the ordinary. The human effort required to carve such a city from the mountain is staggering. Who were the visionaries who conceived of Choquequirao, and what compelled them to build so grandly in such a perilous location? Even after decades of study, Choquequirao keeps its secrets. Every terrace, plaza, and hidden staircase raises new questions about Inca society, spirituality, and engineering. And perhaps the most compelling mystery is not only what we have found, but what remains buried beneath layers of soil, roots, and time. Are there chambers, artifacts, or inscriptions waiting to be discovered, capable of illuminating the city's true purpose, or deepening its enigmatic allure? As the Andean mist lifts and sunlight spills across Choquequirao's terraces, the city seems to linger between history and imagination, visible yet partially obscured, inviting observers to ponder what the Incas knew, what they intended to preserve, and what knowledge the mountains themselves have kept secret. Standing here, one cannot escape the sense that this forgotten city still has much to tell, if only we are patient enough to listen. What truths remain hidden among its stones, and what wonders lie yet undiscovered, waiting silently for those who seek them? From the hidden terraces of Choquequirao, we journey northward across the rugged Andes to the highlands of Oaxaca in southern Mexico, where the ancient city of Monte Alban rises like a crown atop a flattened mountain ridge. From this vantage, the valley stretches out below in a patchwork of fields, forests, and rivers, the landscape meticulously ordered as if the earth itself had been shaped to frame this monumental city. The site's stone structures, some soaring nearly 20 meters above the terraced platforms, gleam in the sunlight, revealing stairways, plazas, and ceremonial mounds that hint at centuries of careful planning and devotion. Yet even in their grandeur, there is a sense of secrecy, an impression that Monte Alban was built not only to command the valley, but to preserve knowledge, ritual, and mystery from prying eyes. Monte Alban was established around 500 BC, becoming one of the first major urban centers in Mesoamerica. It served as the political and spiritual capital of the Zapotec civilization, a society that flourished for more than a millennium in the Oaxaca Valley. Archaeologists have documented extensive plazas, ball courts, tombs, and residential areas, revealing a culture capable of sophisticated urban planning, artistry, and governance. Yet, despite these insights, Monte Alban continues to puzzle historians. Why did the Zapotecs choose such a precarious mountaintop for their capital, and what drove them to shape the terrain with such monumental precision? The city's layout offers some clues but also raises more questions than answers. The main plaza, vast and rectangular, is surrounded by pyramidal platforms, temples, and elite residences, each aligned with remarkable regularity. Some scholars propose that these alignments relate to solar and lunar cycles, suggesting an advanced understanding of astronomy that guided ceremonial and agricultural practices. Others note that certain platforms and terraces appear positioned to correspond with distant mountain peaks, as if the builders sought to connect their structures symbolically with the horizon and the natural world. Were these purely practical or defensive choices, or did they encode spiritual or cosmic knowledge meant to guide the eyes and minds of those who entered the city? Tombs beneath Monte Alban add another layer of intrigue. Richly decorated with intricate carvings and painted murals, these subterranean chambers contain artifacts ranging from ceramics and jewelry to mysterious etched stones known as danzantes, or dancers. These figures, carved in stone and etched with unsettlingly expressive detail, depict contorted bodies, ritualized poses, and abstract symbols whose precise meaning has eluded scholars. Were they intended to record historical events, ritualized sacrifices, or perhaps allegorical stories known only to the Zapotec elite? The ambiguity of these carvings invites speculation, prompting us to wonder what worldview, beliefs, or hidden messages were preserved within these walls. Beyond the tombs, Monte Alban is threaded with hidden passageways, staircases, and terraces that sometimes lead to dead ends or converge in unexpected configurations. Some suggest these features may have been designed for ceremonial purposes, guiding priests or elite members through ritual spaces along carefully choreographed routes. Others speculate about the possibility of concealed storage chambers, secret archives, or even subterranean tunnels connecting Monte Alban to other sites in the valley. While conclusive evidence remains limited, the architecture implies a society deeply concerned with both the visible and invisible dimensions of space, a civilization attentive not only to utility, but to the symbolic resonance of its constructions. The precision of construction also raises questions about technological knowledge. Stones, some weighing several tons, were quarried, shaped, and transported with methods that remain partially speculative. How did the Zapotecs coordinate such feats of engineering without the wheel, draft animals, or written records in the form we recognize today? Was it purely a function of labor organization and skill, or might it reflect an understanding of leverage, geometry, and communal effort that we have only begun to appreciate? Monte Alban's mysteries extend beyond its walls. The city's sudden rise and eventual decline around 750 AD leave gaps in the historical record. Archaeologists debate the causes of its decline. Were they internal political shifts, environmental changes, or external pressures from emerging powers in the region? And as with Choquequirao, there is always the possibility that significant portions of Monte Alban remain buried beneath terraces, modern development, or centuries of erosion. Could there be hidden chambers, ritual artifacts, or inscriptions that might yet illuminate aspects of Zapotec life and belief that are currently beyond our grasp? The site's integration with the surrounding landscape also invites reflection. From the mountaintop, one can see distant ridges and valleys, rivers winding like veins across the earth, and the sun rising and setting in alignment with the city's plazas and platforms. The experience evokes a profound sense of intentionality, a dialogue between human construction, and natural forces. Was Monte Alban designed to be more than a city, a place where the Zapotecs sought to order both the earth and the cosmos, to assert dominion over space and time, and to encode knowledge in stone that would endure beyond lifetimes? Standing among the terraces and pyramidal structures, the visitor is struck by the interplay of grandeur and secrecy, of clarity and ambiguity. Monte Alban speaks not only of political power and urban achievement, but also of ritual, belief, and knowledge now partially obscured by time. Each wall, each carved stone, each hidden corner seems to hold a question rather than an answer, reminding us that the past often communicates in whispers rather than declarations. And so Monte Alban endures, an ancient monument at once commanding and elusive. Its stones are silent witnesses to a civilization that flourished, innovated, and disappeared, leaving behind clues, enigmas, and the lingering sense that much remains hidden. What messages, rituals, or knowledge were the Zapotecs trying to preserve, and what secrets still lie buried beneath terraces, plazas, and tombs? As we gaze across the Oaxaca Valley from this mountaintop citadel, one cannot help but wonder, how much more does Monte Alban have to reveal, and who will uncover it first? From the high terraces and pyramidal platforms of Monte Alban, our journey carries us far across the seas to the lush, river-carved landscapes of Bali, Indonesia, where the hidden shrines of Gunung Kawi lie carved directly into the cliffs along the Pakarisan River. Here, the humid jungle presses in close, draping moss and vines over stone surfaces, while the sound of flowing water echoes through a narrow gorge. The shrines themselves, 10 massive rock-cut candy or funerary monuments, emerge from the cliff face like colossal sculptures, each over 7 meters tall, their weathered forms bearing silent witness to centuries of devotion and mystery. From a distance, they appear almost impossibly carved, as if human hands had coaxed solid stone to yield in precise symmetry while preserving the natural integrity of the cliff. Gunung Kawi is believed to have been constructed in the 11th century AD, during the height of Bali's early royal dynasties. Historical records associate the site with King Anak Wungsu of the Udayana dynasty, suggesting that the shrines were created as funerary monuments to honor him and members of his family. Archaeologists have noted the careful alignment of the shrines along the river, the terraces below the cliff, and the complex access stairways that descend nearly 300 steps into the valley. The site's layout demonstrates a remarkable integration of natural topography and architectural intent, a marriage of artistry and environment that speaks to the sophistication of Balinese engineering and ritual design. Yet, despite these concrete historical anchors, Gunung Kawi retains a profound sense of mystery. The precision of the rock-cut shrines raises questions about the techniques employed to carve such monumental figures directly into the cliff face. How were these artisans able to sculpt stone with such symmetry, achieving consistent dimensions and proportions across multiple monuments without modern tools? Some researchers suggest that specialized chiseling methods and communal labor practices were involved, but the sheer scale and uniformity continue to inspire awe. Were there techniques, now lost, that enabled these workers to manipulate stone with near-impossible precision? And why was the river valley chosen as the canvas for these sacred creations, rather than a more accessible location? The shrines themselves evoke more than technical admiration. Each candy is hollowed in a way that suggests ceremonial or ritual use, with niches and alcoves whose original purpose is debated. Some historians posit that these were designed for offerings, cremation rituals, or symbolic passageways for the soul, linking the earthly realm with the spiritual. Others have noted subtle carvings along the cliff that do not match the funerary structures, possibly indicating earlier sacred significance or layers of ritual practice that predate the royal dedications. In this way, Gunung Kawi appears to be more than a royal necropolis. It is a living testimony to centuries of belief, devotion, and interaction with the natural world. The site's environment adds another layer of intrigue. Fog often drifts through the gorge in the early morning, obscuring the terraces and shrines, lending the cliffs an ethereal, almost otherworldly presence. Monkeys and birds move through the treetops above, and the constant murmur of the Pakarasan River below creates a soundscape that feels deliberately contemplative, as if the landscape itself participates in the ritual experience. It is easy to imagine that these shrines were intended to evoke awe and reverence, guiding pilgrims along the carved stairways into a world carefully structured to blend human devotion with the raw power of nature. Beyond the mainstream interpretations, a more enigmatic aspect persists in local lore. Some Balinese traditions speak of hidden chambers behind the rock faces, secret passages carved into the cliff, or concealed spaces that might have housed sacred objects or texts. While modern archaeology has yet to confirm the existence of such chambers, these stories suggest that Gunung Kawi may have been designed not just as a visible monument, but as a complex spiritual network with dimensions now lost to time. Could there be knowledge intentionally veiled within the stone, accessible only to those initiated into certain rituals or teachings? And if so, what truths or insights might it contain about Balinese cosmology, death, and the journey of the soul? The integration of Gunung Kawi into the surrounding landscape also invites reflection. The terraces below the cliff extend the influence of the shrines into cultivated space, where rice paddies and irrigation systems follow contours that echo the monumental forms above. This alignment suggests an understanding not only of agriculture and engineering, but also of harmony between human activity, water, and the sacred. Was this intentional, a statement that the land itself is part of a spiritual order? Or does it hint at deeper knowledge of how humans interact with their environment, preserved in stone and soil across centuries? As one descends the steep stairways, moving closer to the shrines, the scale and intricacy of Gunung Kawi become ever more apparent. Every carved recess, every weathered surface, and every aligned terrace invites contemplation. The site is at once a royal memorial, a ritual landscape, and a puzzle whose full meaning is still beyond our reach. The passage of centuries has softened the edges of the stone, but the questions remain sharp. Who conceived this extraordinary integration of nature, ritual, and architecture? What intentions guided the hands that carved these cliffs with such precision? And what secrets, perhaps hidden in plain sight, are still waiting for those patient enough to uncover them? In the quiet stillness of the river gorge, with mist drifting through the trees and sunlight illuminating the cliff faces, Gunung Kawi endures as a testament to human creativity and devotion, and as a monument to mystery itself. The shrines speak without words, inviting us to consider the interplay of culture, landscape, and belief across centuries. And yet, for all that has been studied, mapped, and documented, one cannot help but sense that the full story remains concealed, hidden somewhere between the stone, the river, and the forest canopy. What more lies behind the cliffs, or beneath the terraces, that might reveal the intentions of a civilization striving to preserve its legacy against the relentless passage of time? From the sacred cliffs and river terraces of Gunung Kawi, our journey now crosses oceans once more, moving to the rolling floodplains of the Mississippi River near present-day Collinsville, Illinois, where the lost city of Cahokia sprawls across the landscape like a ghostly imprint of a civilization that flourished and vanished long before European contact. Today, the site may appear quiet and pastoral, with grassy mounds rising gently from the fields and forests, yet these mounds are far more than simple elevations of earth. They are remnants of the largest pre-Columbian city north of Mexico, a monumental urban center that challenges our understanding of ancient North American societies. At the heart of Cahokia lies Monk's Mound, a structure so vast that it covers nearly 14 acres at its base, rising over 30 meters above the surrounding plains. Its sheer size alone is staggering, rivaling the pyramids of Mesoamerica in both scale and labor investment. From the summit, one can imagine the city as it once was, a dense network of wooden structures, plazas, ceremonial platforms, and interconnected roads, home to an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 inhabitants at its peak around 1050 to 1200 AD. Yet, despite the evidence of its urban complexity, Cahokia's purpose, social organization, and eventual decline remain shrouded in mystery. Why did such an advanced city emerge so far north, and why was it eventually abandoned? Archaeologists have uncovered extensive evidence of sophisticated planning. The mounds appear to follow precise alignments with solar and lunar cycles, suggesting a deep awareness of astronomy. The city's central plaza, stretching over 30 acres, may have hosted public ceremonies, markets, and gatherings of considerable scale. Artifacts, including intricately crafted pottery, shell ornaments, and carved stone effigies, indicate a society capable of artistic and technological achievement. Yet, many elements of Cahokia continue to elude full explanation. Why were some mounds oriented to celestial events, while others seemed to align with the surrounding rivers and floodplains? Was this purely functional, or did it reflect a cosmology now lost to time? The city's organization further deepens the mystery. Cahokia was not merely a collection of isolated mounds. It was a complex, hierarchical settlement with evidence of social stratification. Some mounds likely supported elite residences, while others served as platforms for public rituals. Certain artifacts, like engraved stones and exotic materials brought from hundreds of kilometers away, suggest far-reaching trade networks and ceremonial significance. Yet, despite the sophistication, there are no surviving written records, leaving modern researchers to reconstruct the city's political and spiritual life from architectural patterns, artifacts, and oral histories preserved by Native American descendants. How did such a society coordinate labor, governance, and religious practice on such a scale without a formal writing system? Cahokia's hidden features are as intriguing as its visible ones. Subterranean pits, previously thought to be refuse areas, have revealed unusual deposits of ritual objects, animal remains, and carefully arranged stones. Some scholars suggest these may have served ceremonial or spiritual purposes, acting as offerings to ensure harmony with natural forces or to communicate with the cosmos. Others note the presence of palisades and elevated platforms that suggest strategic or defensive planning, hinting at political or intertribal tensions that remain poorly understood. Could these structures have also been used to mark sacred pathways, to guide ceremonial processions, or to encode knowledge in the city's very design? The scale of construction at Cahokia raises further questions. The sheer volume of earth moved to create Monk's Mound and surrounding platforms would have required thousands of workers over decades, if not centuries. Without draft animals or metal tools, this labor represents a remarkable feat of organization, communal effort, and technical skill. How did Cahokia's leaders mobilize such resources, and what motivated generations of workers to build structures whose purpose remains partially enigmatic? Was it faith, fear, ambition, or something else entirely that sustained this monumental endeavor? Even the reasons for Cahokia's decline are uncertain. By the 13th century, the city had been largely abandoned, its structures slowly reclaimed by the surrounding plains. Some researchers point to environmental factors, including deforestation, soil depletion, or flooding, as potential causes. Others suggest internal political instability, social unrest, or shifting trade networks may have contributed. Yet, none of these explanations fully accounts for the suddenness and completeness of the city's abandonment. What pressures could dismantle a society so advanced, leaving only the silent mounds as testimony to its existence? Today, Cahokia endures as both a site of study and a place of reflection. Walking among the mounds, with the Mississippi River Valley stretching in every direction, one can sense the ambition, ingenuity, and mystery of those who lived here. The city speaks in a language of earth and alignment, of labor and artistry, inviting observers to consider the lives, beliefs, and knowledge of its inhabitants. It challenges assumptions about the limits of pre-Columbian civilization in North America, and reminds us that monumental human achievement is not confined to the familiar cradles of the ancient world. And yet, for all that has been unearthed, Cahokia still conceals secrets. Are there chambers, artifacts, or pathways hidden beneath the mounds, waiting to reveal more about the city's social, spiritual, or technological life? What motivated a people to build so grandly, and why did they ultimately abandon their creation? The answers remain elusive, preserved in the silent terraces and earthworks that continue to inspire wonder. Standing here, one cannot help but feel that Cahokia's story is incomplete, a narrative still partially buried beneath centuries of soil, grass, and memory. What else lies hidden in this lost city, and how much more might it teach us about the ingenuity and enigma of the human past? From the sprawling earthen mounds of Cahokia, our journey carries us across the Atlantic to the rolling countryside of Wiltshire, England, where the ancient stones of Avebury Henge rise solemnly from the mist-laden fields. Unlike the dense forests surrounding Gunung Kawi or the river valleys of Cahokia, Avebury sits atop gentle, undulating terrain, its massive stone circles punctuating the landscape with an almost timeless authority. Even from a distance, the sight is arresting. Hundreds of sarsen stones, some towering over 4 meters, arranged in vast concentric rings, surrounded by a wide ditch and embankment that define the henge itself. The size and scope of Avebury make it one of the largest megalithic monuments in Europe, yet its true purpose continues to elude explanation. Avebury was constructed in the late Neolithic period, around 2600 BC, predating Stonehenge by several generations. Archaeologists believe the site functioned as a ceremonial center for the communities of southern Britain, a place where social, spiritual, and possibly astronomical concerns intersected. Excavations reveal evidence of carefully arranged avenues, ritual deposits, and nearby settlements, suggesting that Avebury was not an isolated monument, but the focal point of a broader sacred landscape. Yet, despite centuries of study, many aspects of its design remain enigmatic. Why were the stones placed in such precise circular formations? And how did Neolithic builders, lacking metal tools, transport and erect such immense stones with apparent ease? Walking among the stones, one cannot escape their sheer presence. The circles form corridors and gateways that subtly manipulate perception, drawing the eye inward and outward, up and down the horizon. Some researchers suggest that this intentional arrangement may have been designed to guide movement, mark celestial alignments, or even induce altered states of consciousness during ritual activity. Others note that the embankments and ditches surrounding the henge may have delineated sacred from profane space, creating a threshold between the ordinary world and a place of ritualized significance. Was Avebury merely a gathering place for ceremonies, or did it encode knowledge and meaning that we are only beginning to grasp? The stones themselves add layers of intrigue. Many bear faint cup marks, grooves, or weathered carvings, subtle traces that suggest symbolic or ritual intent, though their exact significance is unknown. Some stones are sarsens, quarried from miles away, while others are smaller bluestones, whose origin and purpose remain debated. Why were some stones selected for their particular size, shape, or mineral composition? Could the builders have believed that the stones themselves possessed inherent power, or were they chosen for alignment with the sun, moon, or stars? These questions persist, inviting speculation without demanding immediate answers. Avebury's relationship to the surrounding landscape deepens the mystery. Ancient avenues, connecting the Henge to nearby sites such as Silbury Hill and West Kennet Longbarrow, suggest that this was part of an integrated ceremonial complex, a network designed to guide people and processions across a sacred geography. Were these avenues paths for pilgrimage, seasonal gatherings, or ritualistic journeys marking cosmological events? Some theorists propose that the placement of stones in relation to distant hills or solar phenomena indicates an understanding of astronomy and seasonal cycles, knowledge embedded into the very fabric of the landscape. Yet the absence of written records leaves these interpretations open, compelling us to navigate between careful archaeology and informed imagination. Beyond mainstream scholarship, fringe theories linger at the edges of interpretation. Some suggest that Avebury's precise geometry reflects a knowledge of sacred proportions or advanced surveying techniques encoded in the circles themselves. Others speculate on spiritual or energetic significance, proposing that the stones served as conduits for cosmic or terrestrial forces, channeling power through the earth. While evidence for such claims remains elusive, the speculation itself underscores a central fact. Avebury was built with intention, purpose, and understanding, yet much of that knowledge has been lost to time. The scale of construction also invites reflection on human endeavor. Moving and erecting stones weighing several tons, arranging them in concentric rings hundreds of meters across, and carving out a surrounding ditch with only primitive tools represents an extraordinary feat of labor, planning, and social organization. What motivated these Neolithic communities to invest so much effort in a project whose function is still partially opaque? Was it devotion, political authority, a shared vision of cosmology, or some combination of these forces? As one wanders through the open spaces between the stones, the interplay of shadow and light changes with every step, revealing new perspectives, hidden alignments, and unexpected sightlines. The monument is not static. It transforms with the position of the sun, the seasons, and the observer's movement, as if designed to be experienced over time, rather than merely observed. Avebury speaks not in words, but in space, stone, and scale, inviting reflection, contemplation, and a quiet sense of awe. And yet, for all that has been studied and preserved, Avebury remains elusive. How much of its story has been lost to erosion, centuries of human activity, or the limits of archaeological interpretation? Are there hidden chambers, burials, or ritual deposits still waiting beneath the soil, capable of revealing more about the society that built it? Standing among the stones, one senses the persistence of time and the quiet resilience of human endeavor, as well as the persistent mystery of why and how this extraordinary monument came to be. Avebury endures not only as a testament to Neolithic ingenuity, but as an enduring puzzle, challenging us to ask, what other knowledge, practices, or meanings lie hidden among these ancient stones, waiting for patient eyes to uncover them? From the misty circles of Avebury, our journey moves south across Europe, tracing the contours of time to the rolling hills of central Italy, near the Tyrrhenian coast, where the ancient city of Tarquinia reveals a landscape both serene and haunting. Here, the earth itself has been shaped into silent memorials, the necropolises of the Etruscans carved into cliffs and hillsides, their stone facades weathered by centuries, yet still echoing the presence of a civilization that flourished in the first millennium BC. Approaching the tombs, one is struck by the contrast. Above, the gentle Tuscan hills bathe in golden sunlight. Below, subterranean chambers lie hidden in shadow, containing artistry, symbols, and mysteries that have endured for over 2,000 years. Tarquinia was one of the principal cities of the Etruscan League, a powerful and sophisticated civilization that dominated much of central Italy prior to the rise of Rome. Between the 7th and 4th centuries BC, the Etruscans developed elaborate burial practices, constructing tombs that served not only as resting places for the dead, but as carefully curated spaces designed to convey status, belief, and identity. Unlike many burial sites, these tombs were often decorated with vivid frescoes, depicting banquets, dances, warriors, and enigmatic rituals, offering rare glimpses into a society whose language remains only partially deciphered. Yet, for all that has been revealed, the tombs of Tarquinia continue to challenge understanding, presenting puzzles that even the most meticulous scholarship cannot fully unravel. Descending into the necropolis, the first impression is one of intimacy, of worlds contained beneath the surface. Each tomb is a self-contained universe, carefully proportioned to evoke a sense of the home, the ceremonial hall, or the cosmic order. The walls are alive with color, despite the passage of millennia. Ochres, deep reds, and blues depict scenes of movement, festivity, and reverence, capturing gestures and expressions in a way that feels both immediate and mysterious. How did these artists convey so much vitality and meaning, using the limited pigments and techniques of their time? And why did the Etruscans choose to immortalize life and death so vividly, rather than relying solely on monumental markers above ground? Among the most famous tombs, such as the Tomb of the Leopards and the Tomb of the Hunting and Fishing, imagery raises profound questions. Banquet scenes dominate, often featuring reclining figures, intricate feasts, and musical instruments. Scholars interpret these as reflections of social hierarchy, ritual, or the Etruscan belief in an afterlife of pleasure and abundance. Yet other motifs defy easy explanation: geometric patterns, enigmatic figures, and repetitive iconography whose symbolic meaning remains elusive. Were these visual codes intended to communicate knowledge accessible only to certain initiates, or did they serve as protective or ritualistic devices to guide the deceased into the afterlife? And why do some symbols appear across multiple tombs, while others remain isolated, their meaning forever obscure? The architecture of the tombs themselves is equally compelling. Carved directly into tufa rock, many chambers feature multiple rooms, niches, and passageways whose layout suggests both practical and symbolic intent. Some tombs include raised platforms, benches, or altars, indicating ceremonial functions beyond interment. Others exhibit intricate entranceways and subterranean corridors, whose design may have been intended to guide spirits, channel energy, or delineate sacred space. How much of this design was informed by religious belief, and how much by social display or familial power? Could these architectural choices have encoded knowledge about cosmology, spiritual practice, or the rhythms of life and death, preserved in stone for generations? Beyond the tangible artifacts and frescoes, the tombs of Tarquinia invite speculation through what they leave unsaid. Unlike Egyptian tombs, there are few written records within the chambers themselves. The Etruscan language, though partially preserved on inscriptions, remains largely undeciphered, leaving modern observers to reconstruct intent from visual cues alone. Some scholars propose that certain tombs may contain hidden chambers, ritual deposits, or symbolic features that are yet to be discovered. Could there be knowledge intentionally concealed from the uninitiated, waiting silently for centuries beneath the earth? And what might these hidden spaces reveal about the spiritual and social life of a people whose civilization profoundly influenced the Romans yet remains enigmatic in its own right? The spatial arrangement of the necropolis also raises questions about urban planning, cosmology, and ritual. Tombs are clustered along ridges and valleys, some aligned with cardinal points or specific topographical features, suggesting careful consideration of the landscape itself. Was the placement of each tomb a reflection of family lineage, social hierarchy, or spiritual geography? Did the Etruscans believe that positioning within the necropolis could affect the journey of the soul or the fortunes of the living? And how much of this design reflects lost knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, or symbolism that modern interpretation can only hint at? Walking through the quiet avenues of Tarquinia, with sunlight filtering through sparse vegetation and the occasional call of a bird, one senses a dialogue between human effort and the passage of time. The tombs are at once intimate and monumental, silent witnesses to lives lived, rituals performed, and beliefs held with intensity. Yet the Etruscans are absent, leaving us only fragments of their thought and artistry, compelling us to reconstruct meaning through observation, inference, and imagination. What can these painted walls, carved niches, and carefully arranged spaces teach us about how they understood life, death, and the cosmos? Even the most studied tombs yield new questions. Excavations continue to uncover objects, fresco fragments, and architectural details that challenge assumptions about chronology, cultural interaction, and ritual practice. Artifacts imported from Greece, the Near East, and other Mediterranean cultures indicate far-reaching networks of trade and influence. Yet the precise nature of these relationships and how they informed the spiritual and artistic life of Tarquinia remains unclear. Were the Etruscans borrowing, innovating, or encoding knowledge of their own in ways we are only beginning to understand? As shadows lengthen across the tufa cliffs and the necropolis sinks into a quiet hush, the tombs of Tarquinia endure as both historical record and enigma. They remind us that even when civilizations vanish, they leave behind traces of thought, ritual, and imagination that resist full interpretation. The frescoed walls and subterranean chambers ask us to ponder the continuity of human curiosity and belief. What truths, rituals, or knowledge remain hidden beneath the rock and earth? What stories, perhaps lost forever, did the Etruscans intend to preserve within these silent spaces? Standing among the tombs, one cannot escape the sense that history is not merely what has been recorded. It is also what waits, patiently, for those willing to look deeper, to question and to wonder at the mysteries still buried within the stones. From the shadowed tombs and frescoed chambers of Tarquinia, our journey now carries us across the Mediterranean Sea to the rugged island of Sardinia, where the foundations of Nuragic sacred wells rise silently from the rocky landscape, their stones weathered by centuries, yet radiating a quiet, enigmatic presence. Set amid rolling hills and scrubland, these ancient constructions emerge from the earth like deliberate punctuations, circular and precise, often enclosed within stone perimeters or terraced platforms. At first glance, they appear functional, simple conduits to access water, but closer inspection reveals a sophistication and ritualism that transforms them into something far more mysterious. Portals into the spiritual and technological understanding of a civilization that thrived long before the rise of Rome. The Nuragic civilization, which flourished in Sardinia from approximately 1800 BC to 500 BC, is best known for its stone towers, or nuraghi, scattered across the island. Yet among these impressive structures, the sacred wells stand apart, combining architectural precision with a spiritual purpose that remains only partially understood. These wells are not mere utilitarian features. They are carefully engineered, perfectly circular stone chambers that descend in steps toward the water table below. The masonry is flawless, each block fitting so tightly that even a blade cannot pass between them, demonstrating a level of craftsmanship that continues to amaze archaeologists and engineers alike. How did the Nuragic builders achieve such precision with only rudimentary tools? And why invest such effort into structures that seem, at first glance, so ordinary? Sacred wells, such as the one at Santa Cristina or Fontana Coberta, are often aligned with astronomical events, most notably the solstices. At dawn on the summer solstice, sunlight descends the well's spiral staircase and illuminates the innermost chamber in a precise, almost deliberate display. This phenomenon suggests that the Nuragic people possessed detailed knowledge of celestial movements, integrating it into their constructions to mark the rhythms of the seasons and perhaps to orchestrate ritual ceremonies. Yet, while alignment with solar events is clear, the broader symbolic or religious significance of these wells remains mysterious. Were they places of communal worship, private devotion, or initiatory rites known only to select members of the society? And what did the movement of sunlight within stone chambers mean to those who first built and used these sacred spaces? The ritual character of the wells is further hinted at by the artifacts found within them. Excavations have revealed offerings of pottery, bronze figurines, and carefully placed stones, suggesting that water was more than a life-sustaining resource. It was a conduit for spiritual or ceremonial activity. Some wells feature circular altars or niches carved into the walls, possibly for libations or symbolic acts of devotion. Were these wells conceived as a bridge between the earthly and the divine, channels through which humans could interact with forces beyond their comprehension? Or were they a demonstration of the civilization's mastery over both water and stone, a symbolic assertion of control over the environment itself? The construction techniques of the sacred wells are as fascinating as their ritual significance. Many wells employ corbelled vaulting to distribute weight evenly, a method that allows for stability across centuries of seismic activity and shifting soil. Steps spiral downward with remarkable regularity, often terminating at an underground water source that remains surprisingly pure even after millennia. How much of this was intuitive knowledge, passed down through generations, and how much reflects a sophisticated understanding of geometry, hydrology, and structural engineering that modern archaeologists are only beginning to appreciate? Could it be that the Nuragic people preserved an advanced technical tradition encoded in stone, now partially lost to time? The well's integration into the landscape also suggests careful planning. Most are located near Nuragi or other sacred sites, hinting at a network of spiritual and social spaces across the island. Terraces, approach paths, and peripheral structures imply that ceremonies were carefully orchestrated, with attention paid to both sight lines and movement. Observing the sites today, one senses a deliberate choreography, where water, stone, and light interact to create a transformative experience for participants. What rituals unfolded within these chambers, and what emotions or insights did the builders intend to evoke in those who descended the steps into shadow and stone? Beyond practical or ritual explanations, alternative interpretations emerge. Some theorists suggest that sacred wells may have functioned as repositories of esoteric knowledge, aligning water, stone, and solar energy in ways that conveyed metaphysical insights. Others propose that the wells were part of a larger, hidden system of knowledge, perhaps linked to astronomical observation, seasonal cycles, or spiritual initiation. While these ideas remain speculative, they underscore a persistent truth. The Nuragic sacred wells were constructed with intention, knowledge, and care, hinting at aspects of human understanding that we have yet to fully grasp. Even the act of visiting these wells evokes a sense of connection with the ancient past. Descending the stone steps into the quiet chamber, one feels the cool, humid air pressing from the walls, hears the distant sound of flowing water, and senses the centuries of human presence layered within the masonry. The experience is at once grounding and transcendent, a reminder that these structures were created not merely for utility, but to endure as portals to meaning, spirituality, and community. Each well is a silent testament to a civilization that invested extraordinary effort to harmonize the human, natural, and cosmic realms. Yet, for all that has been uncovered, the sacred wells retain secrets. How many structures remain hidden beneath Sardinia's hills and forests, their purposes lost to time? Were there wells or underground networks yet to be discovered, holding clues to ceremonies, astronomical observation, or spiritual knowledge? And what can these enduring stone chambers teach us about the balance between practicality, ritual, and cosmic understanding in ancient societies? Standing at the edge of a Nuragic well, gazing into its shadowed depths, one cannot escape the feeling that the past is whispering, that knowledge and mystery are intertwined in ways we are only beginning to sense. What remains unseen, untapped, or undiscovered in these ancient wells, and how much more might they reveal about a civilization that continues to elude our comprehension? From the stone chambers and ritual waters of Sardinia's Nuragic sacred wells, our journey now carries us northward across the seas to the rugged, windswept landscapes of the Outer Hebrides in Scotland, where the brooding silhouette of Dun Carloway rises against the horizon. Perched atop a small rise on the Isle of Lewis, this ancient broch, its dry stone walls still towering nearly 10 meters in places, commands both land and sky, overlooking fields that roll toward distant shores. Even in ruin, Dun Carloway emanates a quiet authority, its circular form perfect in proportion, its walls thick and deliberate, as if built to withstand both time and the elements. The structure exudes a presence that is both practical and enigmatic, a monument whose purpose continues to stir speculation and awe. Dun Carloway is a broch, a type of dry stone tower unique to Iron Age Scotland, constructed roughly between 100 BC and 100 AD. Brochs are remarkable for their massive circular walls, sometimes exceeding 4 meters in thickness, and their internal features, which include stairs, galleries, and chambers hidden within the walls themselves. Scholars suggest that these towers may have served defensive, residential, or symbolic purposes, or perhaps all three simultaneously. Yet, the scarcity of contemporary written records leaves much to interpretation, and the precise intentions of the builders remain elusive. Why were these imposing structures so meticulously designed? What drove the ancient inhabitants to invest immense labor into towers that seem almost solitary, isolated amid the rugged terrain? Approaching Dun Carloway, one is struck by its construction. The outer wall is carefully composed of locally quarried stone, laid without mortar, yet remaining stable for over 2 millennia. A narrow entrance leads into the broch's interior, where a spiral staircase hugs the thickness of the wall, ascending through hidden galleries and chambers. Some of these passageways terminate abruptly, or seem to lead nowhere, evoking questions about their purpose. Were these dead ends simply functional, designed to deter intruders, or did they serve a more esoteric function, perhaps linked to ritual, observation, or the encoding of knowledge? The precision and sophistication suggest a society with both technical skill and a nuanced understanding of space, engineering, and human psychology. The location of Dun Carloway is equally compelling. Perched on a gentle rise, it affords sweeping views of the surrounding landscape, including nearby fertile fields, distant coastlines, and even other brochs scattered across the island. This positioning may have been strategic, allowing inhabitants to survey land and sea, monitor approaching groups, or signal between neighboring towers. Yet, beyond practicality, there is a sense of symbolic intentionality. The broch appears as both a beacon and a boundary, asserting presence in the landscape in a way that is at once protective, declarative, and mysterious. Were these towers merely fortifications, or did they serve as cultural markers, expressing power, identity, or spiritual significance? The interior features of Dun Carloway deepen the sense of mystery. Within the walls, small chambers may have served as storage, sleeping areas, or ritual spaces. Fire pits, stone benches, and ledges indicate daily use, while certain architectural quirks, narrow passages, hidden alcoves, and spiral galleries, suggest that these towers were also designed to create an experience of movement, secrecy, and perhaps initiation. Could inhabitants have been guided along these spaces in ceremonial patterns, using the architecture itself to shape perception, hierarchy, or spiritual understanding? And what role did the broch play in the broader network of Iron Age communities across the Hebrides, a society whose social and ritual structures are largely reconstructed from stone and oral tradition? Brochs like Dun Carloway also raise questions about technological knowledge. The construction of thick, self-supporting walls, the integration of galleries, and the use of corbelling to span spaces without collapse indicate an advanced understanding of engineering principles. Yet, these techniques remain enigmatic. How did ancient builders determine the precise placement of stones, the angles of galleries, and the alignment of walls, all without the tools and instruments we take for granted today? Was this knowledge empirical, accumulated over generations, or guided by principles now lost to time? And how much of the broche's design encoded information about social organization, power, or cosmology? Beyond mainstream interpretations, the broches invite more speculative questions. Some theorists suggest that Dun Carloway and its counterparts were designed with symbolic or astronomical intent, aligning with solar events, lunar cycles, or the movement of stars across the northern sky. Others propose that the inner chambers and hidden stairways may have been used for initiation rituals, secret gatherings, or as a means of controlling access to sacred knowledge. While evidence remains limited, the coherence, scale, and complexity of these towers imply that their function extended beyond mere habitation or defense. Could it be that Dun Carloway served as both fortress and temple, a place where practical life and spiritual understanding were inseparably intertwined? Visiting the site today, the experience is immersive and contemplative. Standing within the circular walls, one feels the weight of centuries pressing outward from the stone. The wind sweeps across the Hebridean landscape, carrying the scent of the sea and the memory of countless generations. The broche is both monumental and intimate, a space that shelters, observes, and perhaps even communicates. Each gallery, stair, and chamber invites reflection, revealing how a civilization expressed identity, power, and ingenuity in stone. Yet, for all that has been uncovered, many questions persist. What was the daily life of inhabitants like within these imposing walls? What secrets, rituals, or knowledge remain hidden in the corbelled chambers, the spiral stairways, or beneath the very foundations of the tower? The broader network of brochs across the Hebrides adds another layer of mystery. Dun Carloway is one of many, suggesting a landscape of communication, defense, or ritual connectivity. Were these towers part of a coordinated system, enabling signaling across vast distances, or did each broch operate independently, serving localized needs and authority? And how did the builders choose their locations, balancing visibility, defensibility, and spiritual resonance within the terrain? The answers remain tantalizingly out of reach, preserving the enigmatic character of these structures. Even in ruin, Dun Carloway exerts a silent, enduring presence. Its stones have witnessed the passage of countless generations, the ebb and flow of climate, and the evolution of human culture across the Hebrides. Yet they keep their secrets, inviting visitors to ponder not only the practical aspects of life within these walls, but also the beliefs, intentions, and knowledge encoded in the architecture itself. What did the broche mean to its builders, and what messages were preserved in its walls, hidden stairways, and corbelled galleries? How much remains buried, overlooked, or misunderstood, waiting for patient exploration to uncover the full story? Standing on the windswept hill, gazing up at Dun Carloway, it is impossible not to feel a sense of connection across time. The broche is a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring power of mystery. It reminds us that even in societies without written records, knowledge, ritual, and purpose can be etched into stone with clarity and intention, leaving behind monuments that continue to challenge, inspire, and intrigue. And as the wind moves through the chambers, the shadows lengthen along the thick walls, we are left to wonder, what else lies hidden within Dun Carloway, and what deeper truths about Iron Age life, technology, and spirituality remain silent within its stones, waiting for discovery? From the dry stone towers and hidden stairways of Dun Carloway, our journey now sweeps southward across the Atlantic to the fertile lowlands of Veracruz, Mexico, where the ancient city of Cempoala rests among rolling plains and winding rivers. Here, remnants of stone circles emerge quietly from the earth, their presence subtle yet commanding, as if the land itself seeks to preserve secrets in these weathered monuments. Unlike the towering brocks of the Hebrides, the stone circles of Cempoala are low, arranged in precise geometric patterns across plazas and ceremonial spaces, their purpose and meaning still largely hidden from modern understanding. Standing before them, one is immediately aware of a deliberate intent, careful placement, alignment, and proportion that speaks of knowledge both practical and spiritual. Cempoala was a thriving center of the Totonac culture, reaching its apex around 1200 to 1520 AD, just prior to the arrival of Europeans in the region. Historical records describe a city of remarkable size, with sprawling plazas, temples, and marketplaces, connected by causeways and bordered by the surrounding rivers. Yet, among the known structures, the stone circles remain enigmatic. Archaeologists have noted their consistent placement within ceremonial precincts, often adjacent to pyramidal platforms, ball courts, or ritual spaces. Some circles consist of carefully carved stones, each etched with grooves or abstract motifs, while others are formed by natural boulders repositioned to create a geometric pattern. Why were these shapes so important, and what knowledge were the builders encoding in their careful arrangement? The function of the stone circles is still debated. Some scholars suggest they may have served astronomical purposes, marking solar or lunar events, or tracking seasonal changes critical to agriculture. Others propose ritualistic uses, with participants moving among the circles in structured ceremonies, possibly invoking deities or ancestral spirits. The circles may have also functioned as focal points for civic organization, delineating sacred zones from communal or administrative spaces. Yet, despite these plausible explanations, no definitive evidence fully explains why the Totonacs invested so much effort in these precise arrangements. What truths did they intend to preserve within these stones, and how much of their knowledge has been lost to time? Approaching the circles, one notices subtleties that invite further inquiry. Certain stones seem deliberately placed along sight lines, forming pathways that intersect at specific points, hinting at a symbolic or functional geometry. Some circles are oriented toward distant hills, river bends, or the rising sun, suggesting that the natural landscape was incorporated into ritual and observation. Could these alignments represent a sophisticated understanding of the cosmos, encoded into stone to guide the rhythm of life, worship, or governance? And if so, what principles of mathematics, astronomy, or cosmology guided their construction? Principles that we are only beginning to recognize through archaeological reconstruction? Excavations have revealed that the circles were more than static monuments. Artifacts found within or near them, ceramics, figurines, and offerings of food or precious objects, indicate human interaction, a dynamic ritual life intertwined with daily existence. Some circles appear to have been used repeatedly, with new stones added or rearranged over generations, reflecting changes in belief, leadership, or social structure. Were these circles places of personal devotion, collective ceremony, or communal governance? Did the arrangement of stones convey messages understood by the community, perhaps encoding cultural or spiritual knowledge in ways that are now lost? Beyond conventional explanations, more speculative interpretations arise. Some theorists propose that the geometric regularity of the circles indicates a knowledge of sacred proportions or energy centers, suggesting that these spaces were designed not only for ritual or observation, but for symbolic or energetic purposes. Others point to the resemblance of some stone configurations to cosmological maps or abstracted representations of celestial cycles. While these ideas remain debated, they underscore the possibility that Cempoala's builders were integrating practical, spiritual, and cosmic knowledge into a unified, embodied form. Could these circles have functioned as a teaching tool, a calendar, or even a form of encoded cultural memory? The location of the stone circles within the larger cityscape also raises questions about social organization and planning. Plazas, temples, and the circles themselves suggest a deliberate integration of ritual, administration, and daily life. The circles may have marked boundaries for sacred events or served as stages for performance, observation, or communal decision-making. What role did these circles play in mediating the relationship between human communities, the landscape, and the divine? How did their presence influence the rhythms of daily life, the timing of ceremonies, or the expression of social hierarchy? Visiting Cempoala today, the experience is both grounding and enigmatic. The stones, though weathered and scattered, retain a geometric elegance that resonates with human intention. The wind carries the whispers of centuries, and the surrounding rivers reflect the light in ways that may have been deliberately observed by the Totonacs. Walking among the circles, one senses the continuity of human engagement, the effort to harmonize life with landscape, time, and belief. Yet, for all that can be measured and interpreted, the site resists full understanding, its meaning partially veiled by the passage of centuries. Even with centuries of archaeological study, the stone circles provoke as many questions as they answer. Were there additional stones, perhaps hidden beneath soil or vegetation, whose alignment or arrangement might further illuminate their function? Could there be subterranean features, ceremonial pathways, or deposits yet to be discovered that reveal more about Totonac ritual, governance, or cosmology? And most fundamentally, what knowledge was intentionally encoded in these seemingly simple geometric arrangements? Knowledge that spoke to generations of a people now mostly vanished. As the sun rises or sets over the plains of Cempoala, light and shadow play across the stones, transforming their character and revealing new alignments and perspectives with each passing hour. The circles endure as silent witnesses to a civilization that valued geometry, ritual, and connection with the cosmos. They remind us that even in the absence of written records, human societies encoded understanding, belief, and observation into the very land itself. And yet, as we trace our fingers along the weathered surfaces and imagine the ceremonies that may have unfolded, we are left to wonder, what truths remain hidden within these stone circles, and how much more might they reveal about the ingenuity, spirituality, and cosmological knowledge of the Totonac people? From the sun-baked plains and geometric precision of Cempoala, our journey now crosses once more into the temperate forests and tidal rivers of New England, where the mysterious rock of Dighton Rock rests half-submerged in the Taunton River in Massachusetts. At first glance, it appears to be an unassuming boulder, its rough granite surface smoothed by centuries of water and weather. Yet, etched across its face are hundreds of petroglyphs, intricate carvings of lines, circles, human figures, and symbols whose meaning has eluded interpretation for over 3 centuries. Standing before it, one cannot ignore the sense of deliberate intent, as if each mark carries a fragment of thought, memory, or communication from a distant past, patiently waiting to be understood. Dighton Rock first captured European attention in the 17th century, though it is widely recognized that indigenous peoples of the region were its original creators. The carvings vary in size, depth, and complexity, some mere scratches, others deeply etched forms that have survived the relentless erosion of river tides. Scholars have long debated their purpose. Were they territorial markers, religious symbols, historical records, or something else entirely? Even the most basic questions remain unresolved. Who carved these figures, and for what reason? And why did they choose this solitary granite boulder in the shifting currents of a tidal river as their canvas? The motifs on Dighton Rock suggest both continuity and complexity. Abstract patterns, lines intersecting circles, zigzags, and concentric shapes, appear alongside representations interpreted as human or animal forms. Some carvings seem to mimic astronomical phenomena, while others hint at narratives or ceremonial activities. Archaeologists have noted similarities to other petroglyphs throughout the northeastern United States, suggesting a shared symbolic language or cultural tradition. Yet, the precise meanings of these markings are lost. Were they intended to record historical events, transmit spiritual knowledge, or communicate with other communities along the river? And if so, how much of this knowledge was understood beyond the people who first carved the stone? The very location of the rock adds to its mystery. Situated within a tidal river, Dighton rock is alternately exposed and submerged depending on the season and water levels. This interaction with the natural environment may have been deliberate, perhaps to mark high and low tides, to reflect cycles of the moon, or to imbue the carvings with symbolic resonance tied to water, life, and change. Could the movement of the river itself have been an integral part of the rock's meaning, transforming it into a dynamic, living monument rather than a static inscription? And what rituals or observations might have unfolded upon its shifting surface, where the ebb and flow of water animated the carvings? Historical accounts from the colonial period add another layer of intrigue. Early European settlers and explorers offered competing interpretations, ranging from attributing the petroglyphs to indigenous peoples to suggesting Norse, Phoenician, or even lost Eastern civilizations might have left their mark. While modern scholarship largely favors a Native American origin, the diversity of interpretations highlights the enigmatic quality of the rock. Why have these carvings invited such speculation across centuries and cultures? What is it about Dighton rock that continues to captivate the imagination and challenge conventional historical narratives? Some carvings are particularly perplexing, resembling symbols or scripts that defy comparison with known writing systems. Could these marks have served as a proto-writing system, a means of recording events, spiritual teachings, or cosmological understanding in a form accessible only to those initiated into their meaning? Others argue that the carvings are ritualistic, designed to be part of ceremonies that incorporated the river, seasonal cycles, and the broader landscape. If so, Dighton rock may represent more than art or communication. It may have been a focal point for communal memory, cosmology, and spirituality, its meaning encoded in stone and water alike. Modern techniques, including photogrammetry and 3D scanning, have allowed researchers to document the carvings in unprecedented detail, revealing subtle grooves and patterns previously invisible to the naked eye. Even so, these technological advances have not solved the deeper question: what did the creators intend, and why? The carvings resist easy explanation, blending abstract and figurative elements in ways that suggest both intentionality and ambiguity. Could there be layers of meaning hidden beneath what is immediately visible, waiting for interpretive frameworks yet to be developed? The endurance of Dighton rock through centuries of environmental change is itself remarkable. Floods, ice, and human interference have altered its surface, yet the petroglyphs remain discernible, testaments to both the skill of their creators and the resilience of the medium. This survival encourages reflection on the relationship between permanence and impermanence, memory and time. What knowledge did the carvers intend to preserve, and how much has been inevitably lost to erosion, weathering, and cultural disruption? How many stories or teachings once carried on the rock's surface have disappeared, leaving only fragments for us to interpret? Visiting Dighton rock today is an immersive experience. The sound of flowing water, the scent of the river, and the interplay of light on the carved surfaces combine to create an atmosphere that is at once serene and uncanny. Walking around the boulder, tracing the grooves with the eye, one feels a connection to hands that worked millennia ago, marking stone with intention, memory, and perhaps reverence. The carvings ask us to imagine a world we cannot fully know, to consider both what is visible and what has been lost. Even as scholarship progresses, Dighton rock remains a puzzle. Were there other stones, now vanished, that once formed a larger ceremonial landscape along the Taunton River? Did the carvings encode seasonal, spiritual, or astronomical knowledge that we cannot yet decipher? And what can this singular boulder teach us about the people who lived here, their relationship to the environment, and their conception of time, memory, and the sacred? Standing before the rock, it is clear that its mystery endures, challenging observers to look, reflect, and wonder at the intentions of a civilization long gone, yet still whispering across the river's flow. Dighton Rock is not merely a relic. It is a dialogue across centuries, a bridge between past and present, inviting us to consider how humans have always sought to record, interpret, and understand their world. Its carvings, stubbornly enigmatic, remind us that history is rarely linear or complete, and that meaning can be layered, personal, and communal at once. And as the river winds past, ever-changing yet constant, one cannot help but ask, what else might be hidden in plain sight, waiting for patient eyes to uncover the secrets that the rock has held for generations? From the river-carved petroglyphs of Dighton Rock, our journey carries us across the Atlantic once more, to the misty lowlands of County Meath in Ireland, where the ancient burial mound of Newgrange rises quietly from the fields, its presence commanding yet serene. At first sight, it is a low, circular mound, its grassy surface blending seamlessly with the surrounding landscape. Yet beneath this unassuming exterior lies a passage tomb of extraordinary sophistication, a structure whose builders, over 5,000 years ago, achieved an architectural and astronomical precision that continues to confound scholars and visitors alike. The mound seems simple, but its inner complexity, stone chambers, corbelled roofs, and megalithic art, reveals a civilization deeply attuned to both earth and sky. Newgrange was constructed around 3200 BC, making it older than both Stonehenge and the Great Pyramids of Giza. The passage tomb consists of a long, narrow corridor leading to a cruciform chamber, meticulously roofed using corbelling techniques that have allowed the stone to remain intact for millennia. The interior is both functional and ceremonial, with side chambers and recesses that may have held the remains of the deceased, offerings, or ritual objects. Yet, the exact nature of the tomb's use remains debated. Was Newgrange primarily a burial site, a ceremonial center, or something far more symbolic, designed to align human experience with celestial patterns? One of the most remarkable features of Newgrange is its alignment with the winter solstice. On a single day each year, the rising sun penetrates the narrow entrance, illuminating the inner chamber in a precise display of light and shadow. This phenomenon, achievable only through careful observation and planning, suggests that the builders possessed sophisticated knowledge of astronomy. How did a Neolithic society, with no written records, achieve such exact alignment? And what meaning did this solar illumination hold for them? Was it a celebration of rebirth, a marker of seasonal cycles, or a ritual designed to connect the living with the spirits of the ancestors? The megalithic art within the chambers adds another layer of mystery. Swirling spirals, concentric circles, lozenges, and other abstract motifs cover the walls and curbstones, their patterns both mesmerizing and perplexing. These carvings have been interpreted variously as symbolic representations of water, the sun, or spiritual journeys, yet no single explanation satisfies all observers. Were these motifs purely decorative, or did they encode information about cosmology, ritual, or ancestral knowledge? And why were such abstract symbols chosen instead of figurative representations familiar to other prehistoric cultures? Newgrange was built using immense stones transported from considerable distances, some weighing several tons. The effort required to move and place these megaliths, without the aid of metal tools or wheeled vehicles, demonstrates not only technical skill, but also social organization and shared purpose. What drove these early people to undertake such monumental labor? Was it devotion, fear, reverence, or a desire to encode knowledge for future generations? And how much of the symbolic meaning embedded in the structure has been lost over thousands of years, leaving us with only fragments to interpret? The design of the tomb itself is highly intentional. The passage, slightly curved and intentionally darkened, guides visitors into the chamber, where light, stone, and geometry converge in a precise spatial experience. The corbelled roof, constructed without mortar, demonstrates both technical ingenuity and an understanding of weight distribution that still astonishes modern engineers. Could the builders have intended the interior not only as a burial chamber, but as a transformative space, one that guided participants' perception, attention, and spiritual experience? And how much of this knowledge, technical, symbolic, or cosmological, was transmitted orally or ritually rather than written? The surrounding landscape also appears carefully chosen. Newgrange sits within the Boyne Valley, near other monumental structures such as Noth and Douth, suggesting a network of sacred spaces with interrelated alignments. Some researchers propose that these sites collectively map celestial events or social networks, forming a prehistoric observatory, ritual complex, or even a calendar encoded in stone. Yet, the exact relationship among these sites, their builders, and their symbolic intent remains elusive. How much of this alignment was practical, ceremonial, or symbolic, and how much remains beyond our comprehension? Fringe theories, too, have emerged over the centuries, proposing that Newgrange contains hidden chambers, encoded messages, or even esoteric knowledge about the cosmos. While such ideas are speculative, they underscore the persistent fascination with a monument that seems deliberately designed to provoke awe and reflection. Could the tomb's construction reflect a society that understood cycles of time, human consciousness, and the heavens in ways that challenge our modern assumptions about prehistoric cultures? Visiting Newgrange today, one cannot help but feel the weight of history pressing through the millennia. The passageway is dark and cool, the corbelled stones above echoing footsteps and whispers, while the carved walls convey the thoughtfulness and intent of those who built it. The light of the winter solstice transforms the chamber in a way that is both precise and magical, a reminder that human beings have long sought to understand and interact with forces beyond their immediate perception. Yet, for all we know, much remains hidden. Could there be chambers, artifacts, or symbolic elements still undiscovered within or beneath the mound? Were there ceremonies, social practices, or astronomical observations whose significance we can only glimpse, never fully reconstruct? And what might the carvings, the structure, and its alignment reveal about the relationship between mortality, cosmology, and human ingenuity in Neolithic Europe? Newgrange is not merely a tomb. It is a testament to human curiosity, observation, and imagination. It reminds us that even in the distant past, societies encoded knowledge, ritual, and symbolism into the physical world with intention and care. And as one stands within its walls, watching how light interacts with stone, it becomes clear that the monument is both a record and a question, a silent invitation to reflect on the knowledge, beliefs, and experiences of a people who lived more than 5,000 years ago, yet continue to speak to us through stone, shadow, and light. What else lies hidden within Newgrange? How much more could the stones reveal about Neolithic understanding of the cosmos, human life, and spiritual practice? And as the sun rises and illuminates the ancient chamber, are we witnessing only a fraction of the knowledge once preserved here? Or are there truths still waiting, silent and patient, for those willing to look deeper? From the rolling fields and precise celestial alignments of Newgrange, our journey moves southward across continents and deserts to the banks of the Nile in what is now Sudan, where the ancient city of Kerma rises from the sands, its monumental structures both imposing and mysterious. Among the most striking of these constructions are the Defufas, enormous mud brick temples whose sheer scale and design evoke questions that linger over 4 millennia. At first glance, they appear as massive rectangular forms, austere and geometric, yet a closer examination reveals a sophistication in planning and construction that challenges conventional understanding of early African architecture. These are not merely buildings. They are statements of cultural authority, spiritual practice, and technical mastery, carved not in stone, but in sun-baked mud that has survived against all odds. Kerma thrived between approximately 2500 BC and 1500 BC, long before the full rise of the new kingdom in neighboring Egypt. The city served as the political, economic, and religious center of the Kerma civilization, one of Africa's earliest complex societies. At the heart of this city, the Defufas stand as silent witnesses to human ingenuity, designed to serve ceremonial and possibly funerary purposes. Their massive walls rise to impressive heights, some estimated at over 18 meters, with interiors that contain multiple rooms, passageways, and platforms. The largest, known as the Western Deffufa, is constructed with immense care, using mud bricks of uniform size laid in regular courses, their precision allowing the structure to endure centuries of shifting sands and seasonal rains. How did the builders achieve such technical excellence with the tools available at the time, and why was so much effort invested in these monumental mud constructions? The Deffufa's function is still a matter of inquiry. Excavations suggest they served primarily ceremonial and ritual purposes, perhaps connected to the worship of deities, the veneration of ancestors, or funerary practices for the elite. Surrounding the Defufas are large cemeteries with tumuli and circular graves, some containing richly adorned individuals, suggesting that these temples may have been the focal point of a complex spiritual landscape. Yet, while their ceremonial use is clear, many details remain enigmatic. Were these temples merely for the elite, or did they serve as community spaces for the broader populace? Did the interior layout encode cosmological or religious knowledge, guiding participants through symbolic journeys of initiation or ritual? The architectural design of the Defufas adds to their intrigue. Unlike stone pyramids elsewhere, these mud brick temples incorporate terraces, platforms, and staircases that create both vertical and horizontal movement. Observers have noted that their orientation may reflect solar or celestial alignments, though the evidence is subtle and sometimes speculative. Could the architects have designed the Defufas to interact with sunlight or shadow in specific ways, marking seasonal or ceremonial events? And if so, what rituals or observances would have been synchronized with these natural phenomena? Adding to the mystery is the material itself. Mud brick is perishable compared to stone, yet the Defufas have survived for millennia with minimal reinforcement. This suggests not only skillful construction, but also ongoing maintenance and a deep understanding of environmental conditions. Were these structures intended as enduring monuments to cultural identity and spiritual practice, or were they conceived as dynamic spaces, periodically renewed and adapted over generations? And how much of the knowledge embedded in their construction, techniques, symbolism, or spatial logic, has been lost with time, leaving only fragments for modern interpretation? Kerma's artistic and symbolic language is also encoded in the Defufas. Excavations reveal remnants of painted plaster, carved niches, and evidence of ritual deposits. These elements hint at a sophisticated ceremonial life that integrated art, architecture, and possibly performance. Could the Defufas have functioned as stages for religious drama, ceremonial feasts, or rites of passage? And what of the orientation, proportions, and rhythm of the spaces themselves? Were they designed to elicit awe, reverence, or a specific psychological response in participants, guiding their experience through both sight and movement? The broader landscape surrounding the Defufas further suggests intentionality. The temples are strategically placed within Kerma's urban fabric, connected to residential areas, ceremonial plazas, and cemeteries. The placement may have served social, spiritual, or political purposes, linking the living and the dead, the sacred and the mundane. Yet the reasoning behind the exact layout, its symbolic, cosmological, or practical implications, remains partially obscured. Did the architects encode meaning in spatial relationships that modern eyes can no longer perceive? And could the Defufas, standing as they do in the arid Sudanese plain, also have served as markers of identity or authority, communicating power across both space and generations? Alternative perspectives, though speculative, persist. Some suggest that the Defufas may encode knowledge of astronomical cycles, perhaps functioning as solar or lunar observatories. Others propose that the structures held esoteric significance, accessible only to the elite or priestly class, serving as sites of initiation, teaching, or ritual performance. While evidence for these theories is circumstantial, the precision, scale, and placement of the Defufas hint at intentions beyond the practical. Could these temples have been designed to mediate between the human and the divine, the earthly and the celestial, or even between life and death itself? Visiting Kerma today, one is struck by the juxtaposition of permanence and fragility. The sun-baked bricks bear the marks of millennia of wind, rain, and human passage, yet they endure, testifying to both the skill of their builders and the reverence in which they were held. Walking among the terraces and platforms, imagining the ceremonies and daily rhythms that unfolded here, one senses a civilization deeply engaged with both material and spiritual realms. And yet, for all we see, the full significance of the Defufas remains hidden, a puzzle of design, function, and intention waiting for patient interpretation. Even with centuries of archaeological study, Kerma Deffufa continues to provoke questions. How many ritual practices, symbolic conventions, or cosmological understandings have been lost to the sands? Could hidden chambers, deposits, or alignments remain undiscovered, revealing new insights into the spiritual and social life of this ancient civilization? And most compellingly, what knowledge, skill, or intention was encoded in the very fabric of these monumental mud-brick temples that modern observers have yet to grasp? The Defufas endure as silent witnesses, linking us to a world that predates most written history. They remind us that human ingenuity, ritual practice, and symbolic expression are not confined by stone, geography, or technology. And as the sun casts long shadows across the terraces, illuminating the vast plain beyond, one cannot help but wonder, what else lies buried in the sands of Kerma, waiting to reveal the ingenuity, spirituality, and secrets of a civilization that continues to challenge and inspire our understanding of the ancient world? From the sun-baked mud-brick terraces of Kerma, our journey now carries us across continents and oceans, deep into the rugged highlands of Peru, where the Andean landscape rises sharply, carving valleys and rivers into a dramatic mosaic of rock and sky. Here, nestled at the confluence of the Mosna and Wachexa rivers, lies Chavín de Huántar, an ancient ceremonial center whose stone labyrinths, carved sculptures, and subterranean galleries evoke both awe and profound mystery. The site sits like a sentinel in the Andean foothills, its imposing architecture emerging from the terrain with deliberate force, a testament to the vision and skill of a civilization that flourished over 3,000 years ago. Chavín de Huántar was the heart of the Chavín culture, a civilization that reached its peak around 900 to 200 BC. It served as a religious and cultural nexus for the Central Andes, drawing pilgrims, artisans, and leaders from across vast regions. Unlike a simple settlement or fortress, Chavín was designed as a multi-dimensional environment, an intersection of architecture, sculpture, hydrology, and symbolism. Its monumental plazas, carefully carved stone heads, and intricate reliefs demonstrate not only technical mastery, but also a sophisticated understanding of ritual, acoustics, and spatial experience. What compelled its creators to invest so much labor, ingenuity, and precision into this ceremonial city, and what hidden knowledge might these stones encode? One of the most remarkable features of Chavín is its network of subterranean galleries and passageways, some of which channel water from nearby rivers. These underground tunnels produce both sound and airflow, creating low-frequency vibrations that travel through the chambers when water flows or ritual activities occur. Archaeologists and acousticians have noted that these effects may have been intentional, designed to heighten sensory experience, induce altered states of consciousness, or communicate spiritual presence. Could the very architecture of Chavín have been conceived as a tool to transform perception, shaping the minds and experiences of those who entered its sacred spaces? The site's carved stone sculptures add layers of symbolic complexity. The iconic Lanzon, a towering stone deity with a fanged visage, dominates the central chamber, its form simultaneously anthropomorphic and jaguar-like. Surrounding it are numerous reliefs depicting felines, snakes, birds, and abstract motifs, often rendered with a level of detail that suggests both artistic and spiritual sophistication. What do these images represent? Cosmology, myth, power, or a codified religious system? And how were these carvings used in practice? Were they objects of veneration, tools for instruction, or symbolic guides for ritual enactment? Water management at Chavín further amplifies its mystery. Channels and drains are integrated throughout the plazas and galleries, sometimes hidden beneath stone slabs, producing the sounds of rushing water that echo through subterranean corridors. Some researchers suggest that these auditory effects were used to simulate spiritual phenomena, making the environment itself a participant in ritual. Could the builders have understood acoustics, psychology, and the interplay of natural elements in a manner that modern observers are only beginning to appreciate? And if so, what experiences were intended for the pilgrims who traveled across the Andes to enter this sacred space? Chavín de Huántar also raises questions about social and cultural influence. The site exhibits stylistic motifs, serpents, jaguars, abstract geometric designs, that appear across vast regions of the central Andes. This diffusion suggests that Chavín's architecture and iconography may have served as a cultural lingua franca, transmitting religious ideas, social norms, or political authority over distances and generations. But how exactly were these concepts understood by people outside the core ceremonial center? Did Chavín function as a unifying spiritual hub, a school of priestly knowledge, or a center of power in ways that are obscured by time? Alternative and speculative interpretations continue to intrigue observers. Some scholars have proposed that Chavín may encode astronomical knowledge, with alignments and visual motifs corresponding to solar, lunar, or stellar cycles. Others suggest that the subterranean passages, reliefs, and sculptural forms were designed as a form of proto-writing, a symbolic language capable of conveying spiritual or cosmological principles. While definitive proof is elusive, these possibilities underscore the sophistication and intentionality of Chavín's creators. Were they embedding encoded knowledge for the initiated, a guide to cosmic order, or instructions for ritual experience? And if so, what has been lost, misinterpreted, or obscured by centuries of natural and human transformation? The site's scale and craftsmanship speak to an organized society with technical expertise, social cohesion, and spiritual vision. The massive stone platforms, precisely fitted galleries, and intricately carved stelae would have required coordination, labor, and planning that challenge assumptions about pre-Columbian construction methods. How did the Chavín mobilize resources, knowledge, and labor to create a city that is simultaneously monumental, functional, and symbolically layered? And what does this tell us about the values, beliefs, and priorities of the society that built it. Visiting Chavín de Huántar today is an immersive experience. Walking through the labyrinthine corridors, feeling the reverberations of water through stone, and observing the intricate carvings in changing light, one senses the deliberate orchestration of perception. The site is both intimidating and intimate, monumental yet human scale, as if the builders intended to engage body, mind, and spirit simultaneously. The sound, shadow, and tactile presence of the stones create a layered sensory environment that continues to fascinate archaeologists, visitors, and mystics alike. Even after decades of excavation and research, Chavín de Huántar continues to provoke questions. Are there hidden chambers yet to be discovered beneath its plazas? Did the sculptural motifs encode secret knowledge or serve as a mnemonic system for ritual practices? And what of the experiences of those who first entered the galleries, following the flow of water and sound through dimly lit passages? How fully can we, separated by millennia, imagine their perceptions, awe, and understanding? Chavín reminds us that human ingenuity has long been entwined with spirituality, symbolism, and environmental mastery. Its builders were not merely constructing physical structures. They were creating experiences, guiding perception, and embedding knowledge in stone, water, and sound. And as the wind whistles through the Andean valleys, carrying the echoes of ceremonial voices across time, one cannot help but wonder, what truths, insights, or experiences remain hidden within Chavín de Huántar, and how much of the civilization's profound understanding of the cosmos, ritual, and human consciousness has yet to be revealed? From the labyrinthine corridors and resonant chambers of Chavín de Huántar, our journey now travels to the remote and windswept ranges of New Zealand's North Island, to a place where rugged mountains rise above the Kaimanawa Plateau, and nature's vastness seems to guard secrets older than memory. Here, hidden among jagged outcrops and rolling tussock grass, lies the enigmatic Kaimanawa Wall, a formation of stone that has long captivated explorers, geologists, and enthusiasts alike. At first glance, it appears as a simple rock face, but closer inspection reveals an arrangement of massive blocks, stacked and aligned with remarkable precision. The formations suggest intent: angles, flat surfaces, and jointed blocks that seem almost sculpted, raising questions that defy simple geological explanation. The Kaimanawa Wall first came to broader attention in the late 20th century, when hikers and researchers noticed its unusual characteristics. Unlike surrounding natural formations, the blocks of the wall exhibit apparent symmetry, right angles, and parallel lines, features uncommon in conventional volcanic and tectonic geology. Some stones appear finely cut or shaped, fitting together with a precision that evokes human workmanship. Yet, the site sits in isolation, far from known settlements, and no definitive records indicate any human construction or civilization that could have created such a structure. How could such a formation exist in such a remote location, and what forces, natural or otherwise, could have produced it? Geologists have proposed that the wall is the product of natural processes: erosion, volcanic activity, or tectonic fracture, resulting in blocky formations that coincidentally resemble masonry. The basaltic rock of the Kaimanawa region is prone to jointing and columnar fracturing, and over thousands of years, weathering could produce shapes that appear deliberate. Yet, even among experts, the regularity of angles, the apparent horizontality of certain layers, and the presence of stacked blocks are unusually pronounced. Could nature alone account for the visual harmony and apparent geometric organization, or is there a possibility of human intervention, ancient hands shaping stone in ways now lost to history? Local Maori traditions add an intriguing dimension to the mystery. While there is no oral history explicitly attributing the wall to a known ancestor or tribe, the mountains themselves are considered sacred, imbued with stories of spirits, guardians, and places of power. Some have speculated that if the wall were constructed, it might have had ritual significance, marking a sacred site, a territorial boundary, or a place of initiation. Could it have been intended as a monument, a ceremonial structure, or a marker of knowledge now lost? And if human activity was involved, why does it leave so little trace? No tools, no settlement, no artifacts, besides the stone arrangement itself. The scale and precision of the blocks invite further speculation. Certain formations appear stacked in tiers, while others form parallel lines or right angles that suggest careful planning. Some observers have noted similarities to megalithic structures found on other continents, though separated by thousands of miles and millennia. Could there be a universal logic in human construction, a shared understanding of geometry and proportion, or is this an example of natural coincidence impressively mimicking human intent? And if ancient peoples did manipulate these stones, what knowledge or purpose guided their work in such a forbidding landscape? Field visits reveal subtleties that are difficult to capture in photographs. Sunlight striking the wall at different angles highlights edges and planes that are nearly invisible in diffuse light, suggesting that the formation may have been designed, or perhaps formed, in consideration of light and shadow. Could this have been intentional, creating a visual effect or marking seasonal changes? Could the wall have once functioned as a calendar, a ceremonial backdrop, or a guidepost, interacting with the environment in ways that are now imperceptible? Despite extensive study, much about the Kaimanawa Wall remains unresolved. Some researchers continue to classify it as a geological phenomenon, while others entertain the possibility of lost human activity, ancient builders whose culture, tools, and records have vanished without trace. And yet, for all its mystery, the wall elicits a sense of quiet power, as if the stone itself is a witness to forces, natural or human, that we cannot fully comprehend. Could it be both? A product of nature refined or augmented by human hands, a meeting of geological processes and human perception, leaving a lasting enigma? The remoteness of the site amplifies its aura. Access requires trekking through rugged terrain, often in challenging weather, and this isolation has preserved the wall from modern interference. Walking along its base, one feels both awe and unease, the sense that this is a place apart from ordinary time, where stone and landscape converge in ways that challenge understanding. The geometry, scale, and subtle alignments suggest intentionality, yet the absence of corroborating evidence leaves interpretation open. Was this a site of human ritual, a natural marvel, or something entirely beyond conventional explanation? The wall's endurance raises another question. If it was shaped or influenced by humans, how old might it be? Could it date to a forgotten epoch, predating known settlement in the region, or does its form represent a natural formation later interpreted as monumental by observers? And if natural, what processes could create such apparent precision, right angles, flat planes, and stacked blocks, in a basalt landscape that otherwise favors irregular forms? The wall challenges the boundaries between geology, archaeology, and imagination, blurring distinctions that we often take for granted. Visiting the Kaimanawa Wall today, one is struck by the interplay of scale, solitude, and mystery. The stones, silent and massive, seem to hold a memory of events, processes, or intentions beyond immediate perception. Their alignment, their angles, their subtle flat planes speak to forces both deliberate and fortuitous, prompting questions that have no easy answers. And yet, in that uncertainty lies their power, the ability to evoke curiosity, reflection, and wonder, to remind us that even in a world increasingly mapped and explained, some places retain the capacity to chill and intrigue. Even after decades of observation and debate, the Kaimanawa Wall remains an enigma. Are there other features hidden nearby, obscured by vegetation or erosion, that might clarify its origin? Could there be signs of tools, pathways, or ceremonial activity that have yet to be discovered? And perhaps most fundamentally, is the wall a testament to nature's uncanny artistry, human ingenuity now lost to time, or a combination of both, a place where the lines between earth and human intention blur, leaving a mystery that endures across centuries? The Kaimanawa Wall endures as both a monument and a question. Its presence challenges assumptions about what is possible in remote landscapes, inviting reflection on the intersection of natural forces, human perception, and the passage of time. As wind sweeps across the plateau and light shifts across its plains, one cannot help but wonder what truths remain hidden in these stones, and how much of the story, if any, will ever be revealed. From the windswept ridges of New Zealand and the enigmatic Kaimanawa Wall, our journey now stretches across oceans and continents to the dense, humid jungles of Cambodia, where the remains of a vast and forgotten civilization lie concealed beneath thick vegetation. Here, the ruins of Angkor emerge in fragments of sandstone, their towers, galleries, and causeways half swallowed by the forest, as if nature itself seeks to reclaim what once belonged to human ambition. The scene is at once breathtaking and haunting. A city of stone, once vibrant with ritual, governance, and commerce, now quiet, overgrown, and whispering secrets from centuries past. Angkor, the capital of the Khmer Empire, thrived from the 9th to the 15th century CE. It was a metropolis of extraordinary scale, stretching over hundreds of square kilometers, encompassing vast temples, reservoirs, canals, and urban complexes. Angkor Wat, the largest and most renowned temple, rises with towers perfectly proportioned to mimic the sacred mountains of Hindu cosmology. Yet Angkor was more than one monument. It was a network of ceremonial centers, administrative hubs, and sacred spaces, all interwoven across an environment carefully shaped to sustain both the city and its people. How did a civilization, largely pre-industrial and reliant on manual labor, achieve such architectural precision, hydraulic ingenuity, and symbolic coherence? And what might the forest's slow reclamation conceal about Angkor's full scope and purpose? The architecture itself is a study in deliberate design and spiritual expression. Steep stairways climb to central sanctuaries, often adorned with bas-reliefs depicting gods, celestial battles, and mythic scenes. Corridors twist and turn, guiding pilgrims through a choreographed experience of awe and reflection. The precision of the masonry, the symmetry of layouts, and the monumental scale suggest not only practical intent, but a deep understanding of symbolism and cosmology. Could the builders have intended the temples to function as both sacred space and sensory experience, where every shadow, angle, and carved surface communicated meaning? The jungle has become both a veil and a collaborator. Massive roots drape over walls and columns, seemingly strangling the stone while simultaneously holding it together in a fragile balance. Trees erupt from temple towers, their roots penetrating ceilings, twisting over walls, and casting shifting shadows on carvings. Does this slow embrace of the forest mirror a symbolic interplay the Khmer may have recognized, a reflection of the impermanence of power and human endeavor? Or is it merely nature's quiet reclamation, reminding us that even the most monumental creations are temporary in the sweep of time? Angkor's hydraulic system adds another layer to its mystery. Enormous reservoirs, canals, and moats were designed to regulate seasonal floods, sustain rice cultivation, and provide water for the city's dense population. These structures required both technical ingenuity and precise planning, demonstrating knowledge of topography, hydrology, and seasonal cycles. Yet, despite such advanced infrastructure, the city was gradually abandoned, leaving temples to sink into the encroaching jungle. What combination of environmental shifts, political upheaval, or social change could have led to the collapse of one of the most sophisticated urban centers of its era? Could subtle alterations in the flow of water, siltation patterns, or climate events have destabilized the systems that sustained Angkor for centuries, accelerating its decline? The overgrown temples invite speculation about hidden spaces and undiscovered features. Archaeologists have uncovered subterranean chambers, hidden passageways, and intricate carvings that hint at ritual practices now lost to memory. Could there still be sanctuaries or chambers buried beneath layers of soil and roots, holding inscriptions, statues, or artifacts that might illuminate the spiritual and political life of the Khmer? And if so, what knowledge, astronomical, ritualistic, or symbolic, might remain obscured, waiting for those patient enough to uncover it? The art and iconography of Angkor are equally compelling. Bas-reliefs depict celestial dancers, mythic battles, and sacred animals, often arranged in precise sequences that may reflect cosmological principles or moral instruction. Nagas, serpentine water deities, wind across walls, while lions, garudas, and other creatures appear in repeated motifs, blending spiritual, protective, and symbolic roles. Did these carvings serve as educational tools for initiates, symbolic guides for rituals, or visual narratives designed to reinforce societal hierarchy and spiritual understanding? And how much of their full meaning has been lost, obscured by centuries of weathering, erosion, and human interference? Some researchers propose that Angkor's design may encode astronomical knowledge. Alignments of temples, causeways, and sanctuaries appear to correspond with equinoxes, solstices, or celestial events. The precise orientations of certain towers suggest an awareness of solar paths and perhaps a deeper understanding of timekeeping, ritual cycles, or cosmology. Could the Khmer have embedded knowledge of the heavens into the very fabric of the city, guiding both spiritual practice and social order? And if so, how much of this knowledge was intended for public observation versus the restricted eyes of priests or elite rulers? The scale of labor and organization required to construct Angkor is staggering. Tens of thousands of workers, artisans, and engineers would have been necessary to quarry, transport, carve, and assemble stone blocks, build hydraulic networks, and adorn temples with intricate reliefs. This monumental effort implies not only technical skill, but also social cohesion, governance, and resource management. How did the Khmer coordinate such enormous undertakings, and what motivated them to invest such labor into structures whose spiritual, political, or symbolic significance is only partially understood today? Visiting Angkor today, one is struck by the juxtaposition of grandeur and decay. The moss-covered stone towers, the shaded corridors, the slow intrusion of jungle roots all create a sensory experience that blends awe with melancholy. The interplay of shadow and light, carved reliefs and creeping vines evokes the presence of human endeavor interacting with nature, reminding us that civilizations, no matter how monumental, are ultimately subject to time's passage. And yet, the temples continue to inspire wonder, hinting at knowledge, artistry, and spiritual practice that survives in the silence of the forest. Even after decades of study, Angkor retains its mysteries. Are there chambers, inscriptions, or artifacts still concealed beneath its layers? Did the Khmer deliberately encode astronomical, spiritual, or political knowledge into the orientation and decoration of their temples? And perhaps most tantalizingly, what rituals, ceremonies, or daily practices unfolded within these spaces, shaping the experience and consciousness of those who lived and worshipped here? The overgrown temples of Angkor endure as monuments to human ambition, ingenuity, and spirituality, yet they also stand as questions in stone. Each vine-wrapped tower, each mossy relief, and each buried foundation challenges us to consider the intersection of human intent, natural processes, and the passage of time. As the forest whispers around these ancient stones, one cannot help but wonder what remains hidden in Angkor's depths, and how much more might be revealed if we could truly see the city through the eyes of its builders, inhabitants, and the centuries of history it has silently witnessed. From the jungle-enshrouded towers of Angkor, where stone and vegetation intertwine in a timeless dialogue, we now travel across oceans and high mountains to the Andes of Peru, to a place where the earth itself seems to rise in terraces, forming walls of extraordinary scale and precision. Ollantaytambo, perched in the sacred valley near the Urubamba River, is a site where stone speaks in silence, where massive blocks of granite rise from the mountainside with such alignment and fit that they leave modern observers questioning the capabilities of ancient builders. Here, amid terraces and narrow streets, one can feel the resonance of centuries, the imprint of ritual, defense, and engineering that defies easy explanation. The site was a central stronghold of the Inca Empire, serving both as a military fortress and as a ceremonial center during the 15th and early 16th centuries. Ollantaytambo is remarkable not only for its strategic location, but for the extraordinary construction of its terraces and walls. Massive stone blocks, some weighing tens of tons, are precisely shaped and interlocked without mortar. The joints are so exact that even a knife blade cannot fit between many stones. How did the builders achieve such precision using the tools and techniques of their time? What methods, knowledge, and labor systems were required to move and position blocks that, to modern eyes, appear almost impossibly large? The fortress walls themselves hold the key to the site's enduring mystery. The most striking of these, found in the upper terraces, show stones arranged in complex polygonal patterns, each block carefully angled and fitted to its neighbors. These walls have endured earthquakes and centuries of erosion, resisting natural forces that have toppled far more recent structures elsewhere. The precision and stability suggest not only practical engineering acumen, but also a profound understanding of geology and seismic dynamics. Could these walls encode knowledge of structural integrity passed down through generations? Knowledge that modern engineers are only beginning to appreciate? In addition to their engineering marvel, the walls and terraces of Ollantaytambo are laden with potential symbolic meaning. Some researchers have noted alignments between terraces, stairways, and surrounding peaks that suggest the builders may have incorporated astronomical observations into their design. Could these walls have served not only defensive and agricultural functions, but also spiritual or calendrical purposes? Did the Inca intend the terraces to reflect cosmological principles, guiding ritual, observation, and seasonal activity across the sacred valley? The quarrying and transportation of the stone blocks deepen the mystery. The primary source of granite lies several kilometers from the site, requiring careful extraction, shaping, and movement over rugged terrain. While ramps, levers, and human labor likely played a role, the exact methods remain speculative. Could the Inca have employed techniques now lost to history, involving sophisticated systems of rollers, sleds, or lubrication? Or did the precision of the stone shaping and placement involve a level of craftsmanship and knowledge that challenges conventional assumptions about pre-modern engineering? The wall's construction also raises questions about social organization. Tens of thousands of workers, artisans, and planners would have been required to quarry, transport, shape, and assemble the massive stones. Coordinating such a workforce suggests a society with complex hierarchies, logistical planning, and disciplined labor practices. How did the Inca manage these resources? What social, political, or spiritual motivations drove such monumental efforts? And what rituals, ceremonies, or belief systems might have accompanied the construction, lending meaning to the labor beyond the practical? Even the choice of stone contributes to the enigma. Granite, while durable, is notoriously difficult to work with using pre-industrial tools. The smooth surfaces, precise joints, and polygonal arrangements seen at Ollantaytambo hint at skillful techniques that allowed the builders to control both shape and placement to extraordinary degrees. Were these methods purely practical, born of empirical experience, or did they incorporate principles of geometry, acoustics, or other forms of applied knowledge that are now partially lost? The spatial layout of Ollantaytambo further intensifies its mystique. The terraces ascend the mountainside in a pattern that is both defensive and aesthetic, combining functionality with visual impact. Narrow pathways, steep stairways, and terraced walls create a controlled environment where movement, sightlines, and access are carefully orchestrated. Could the Inca have designed these features to influence perception, guiding the eye, body, and mind of inhabitants and visitors in ways that reinforced social hierarchy, spiritual awareness, or strategic advantage? Alternative perspectives, often speculative, suggest even deeper mysteries. Some theorists propose that the precise cutting and placement of stones might reflect lost knowledge of astronomy, sacred geometry, or even energy systems, designed to harmonize with the natural and celestial landscape. While such theories remain unproven, they underscore the extraordinary impression that Ollantaytambo imparts. A site where human ingenuity, observation, and labor converge with the earth itself, producing structures that continue to confound and inspire. Could there be hidden meanings, alignments, or chambers yet to be discovered that would reveal dimensions of purpose now invisible to us? Walking through the narrow streets and climbing the terraces today, one senses the interplay of scale, power, and ritual. The walls, massive yet harmonious, carry a weight beyond their physical mass, a weight of history, skill, and cultural memory. The terraces and fortifications suggest careful consideration of environment, topography, and climate, yet they also invite reflection on human ambition, determination, and ingenuity. What experiences did those who built, lived, or sought refuge within these walls undergo? How did the combination of labor, ritual, and observation shape their understanding of the world around them? Even after centuries of study, Ollantaytambo preserves its enigmas. Are there undiscovered techniques, alignments, or hidden chambers that could clarify the methods or purposes behind its construction? Could future archaeological investigations reveal evidence of ceremonial practices encoded in the terraces or walls themselves? And perhaps most compellingly, how much of the knowledge, skill, and symbolic intention embedded in these stones has been lost to time, leaving only fragments of insight for modern observers? The enigmatic walls of Ollantaytambo endure as both monuments and questions. They challenge us to consider the intersection of human ambition, environmental mastery, and spiritual or symbolic intent. Each polished surface, each precisely fitted polygon, and each ascending terrace stands as a testament to ingenuity, perseverance, and imagination. And yet, as the Andean winds sweep across the terraces and echo through the narrow stone corridors, one cannot help but wonder, what secrets remain hidden within these walls, and how much more of Ollantaytambo's story will be revealed only when we look beyond what is visible and consider the ingenuity, intention, and mysteries of a civilization that continues to inspire awe across the centuries. From the high terraces of Ollantaytambo, where stone meets sky in a testament to human ingenuity and precision, our journey now moves across continents to the arid landscapes of the American Southwest. Here, among the rugged mountains and desert plains of Arizona, the ruins of Casa Grande rise from the earth like a whisper from a forgotten civilization. The structure, known as the Great House, stands as an imposing testament to a people whose architectural skill and social organization remain subjects of fascination and debate. Weathered walls of caliche, hardened clay, carry the marks of centuries, and yet their very endurance poses questions. How was such a structure built with such precision, and why did it endure while so much else of its civilization has vanished? Casa Grande, part of the Hohokam complex that flourished between approximately 200 and 1450 CE, is a multi-storied adobe structure of remarkable size. Its four walls rise to nearly 13 meters, enclosing a central plaza with carefully constructed windows, doors, and niches whose original purpose continues to elude archaeologists. The Hohokam were master engineers of their time, known for their extensive irrigation canals, sophisticated ceramics, and well-planned settlements. Yet Casa Grande stands apart, a monumental structure whose exact function, whether residential, ceremonial, astronomical, or administrative, remains a mystery. What compelled its builders to invest such time, labor, and ingenuity into a singular edifice, and what knowledge guided its design? The walls themselves invite scrutiny and wonder. Constructed from caliche, the layers were carefully poured and shaped, hardened by sun and time, creating surfaces remarkably uniform in thickness and alignment. In some sections, evidence of plastering and finishing remains, suggesting an awareness of aesthetics and durability beyond mere utility. How did the Hohokam achieve such uniformity and stability without metal tools or advanced machinery? And what techniques allowed them to construct a four-story building that withstood not only the passage of centuries, but also the harsh desert climate? Some researchers propose that Casa Grande had a ceremonial function, pointing to the structure's orientation and relationship to surrounding features. The building's windows align with solar and lunar events, hinting at an understanding of astronomy. Could it have served as a calendar, a guide for planting and harvesting, or a ceremonial site where celestial events were observed and interpreted? Or was its significance primarily social, marking the center of a community and asserting authority through scale and visibility? The site's enigmatic features extend beyond its walls. Nearby, smaller adobe structures, pits, and pathways suggest a complex settlement pattern, yet no definitive records indicate centralized political control comparable to that seen in Mesoamerican civilizations. How did the Hohokam organize labor, resources, and knowledge to create Casa Grande and the surrounding settlements? Was there a priestly or elite class orchestrating construction? Or was the project a communal endeavor, guided by shared knowledge and tradition? Alternative and speculative theories further deepen the intrigue. Some have suggested that Casa Grande could have functioned as a watchtower or a repository of knowledge, with interior chambers and niches holding objects or information now lost. Others point to alignments with celestial bodies and topographical features, proposing that the structure might have encoded astronomical or ritual knowledge for initiates, guiding seasonal ceremonies or spiritual practices. While these interpretations cannot be confirmed, they underscore the sense that Casa Grande was conceived with intention, symbolism, and a vision extending beyond mere shelter or fortification. The technical skill evident in Casa Grande also suggests a sophisticated understanding of materials and construction methods. Adobe, while abundant, is vulnerable to erosion, yet the walls remain remarkably intact despite centuries of exposure. Could the Hohokam have developed techniques to enhance the material's longevity, layering and compacting it in ways that modern observers struggle to replicate? And if so, what other aspects of their engineering, underground canals, water management systems, or structural reinforcements, remain undiscovered, hidden beneath the desert sands and erosion? The relationship between Casa Grande and its environment adds yet another layer of complexity. Situated near the Gila and Salt rivers, the site lies in a region characterized by extreme temperatures, seasonal floods, and limited rainfall. The Hohokam built extensive canal networks to irrigate crops, Yet Casa Grande itself appears to have stood apart, not directly integrated into agricultural layouts. Could this separation indicate a spiritual or ceremonial purpose, a deliberate placement designed to bridge the practical and the sacred? How did the builders account for environmental forces while constructing a building that was both monumental and precarious, rising above a landscape of shifting sands and seasonal waters? Visiting Casa Grande today, one is struck by a sense of quiet grandeur and haunting emptiness. The sun casts shadows along the walls, illuminating niches and apertures whose functions are unknown. The scale and precision of the construction evoke admiration and wonder, yet the absence of inhabitants, tools, or records amplifies the mystery. Who first entered these walls, climbed the floors, or observed the skies through the windows, and what did they understand of the building's purpose and significance? How did the experience of being within Casa Grande shape their perception of the cosmos, community, and spiritual world? Even after extensive archaeological study, many questions remain unanswered. Are there hidden chambers or subterranean features yet to be discovered? Could artifacts, inscriptions, or ceremonial objects still lie buried, waiting to reveal clues about the people who built and used this enigmatic structure? And perhaps most provocatively, what social, spiritual, or cosmological knowledge guided the construction of a building that stands so deliberately apart from its surroundings, yet integrates so seamlessly with the environment, light, and horizon? The ruins of Casa Grande endure as a silent testament to the ingenuity, ambition, and complexity of the Hohokam. The precision of its walls, the mysterious purpose of its chambers, and the subtle interplay between structure and environment all point to a civilization whose achievements continue to surprise and challenge modern understanding. It is a site where engineering, ritual, and landscape converge, raising questions that transcend time, inviting reflection on human capability, ingenuity, and the enduring capacity to shape stone, sky, and spirit. And yet, as the desert wind whispers across the crumbling walls, the building remains a puzzle. Its secrets are locked in caliche and shadow, preserved by isolation and time. We can study the alignment of windows, the thickness of walls, and the arrangement of floors, but the lived experience of those who constructed and inhabited Casa Grande remains elusive. Did the Hohokam intend to communicate knowledge to the future, to encode information in the very stones of the building? Or is the mystery inherent, a reminder that even the most carefully constructed monuments can leave their stories incomplete, open to interpretation and wonder? Casa Grande invites us to ponder not only the ingenuity of ancient peoples, but also the limits of our own understanding. Its walls, enduring yet enigmatic, challenge us to see beyond the surface of stone and sand, to imagine the lives, intentions, and knowledge of a civilization that has largely vanished. And as the sun sets over the desert horizon, casting long shadows across its adobe walls, one cannot help but wonder what remains hidden within Casa Grande, and how many of its secrets will endure, waiting for the patient, observant, and curious to discover them. From the sun-baked adobe walls of Casa Grande, where the Hohokam left behind a silent testament to ingenuity and mystery, our journey now moves across continents and deserts to the Arabian Peninsula, to a site where stone and sand converge to reveal traces of one of the region's earliest settled cultures. Henge Archaeological Park, located on the outskirts of Al-Ayn in the United Arab Emirates, is a place where history is etched in the foundations of walls, the contours of burial mounds, and the careful arrangement of stone circles. Here, amid date palms and arid plains, we encounter the remnants of a civilization that thrived thousands of years ago, leaving behind clues that both intrigue and perplex modern researchers. Henge was a major settlement during the Bronze Age, around 3000 to 1300 BC. part of what archaeologists now call the Hili Cultural Complex. The site encompasses an array of structures, including circular tombs, stone foundations, and remnants of domestic and ceremonial architecture. Even today, the organization of the site conveys an underlying order and sophistication, suggesting that the people of Hili understood not only construction but spatial planning, social hierarchy, and ritual practice. But the site's deeper mysteries persist. How did these early inhabitants establish such structured communities in a harsh desert environment? And what knowledge guided the design of their settlements, tombs, and ceremonial areas? One of the most striking features of Hili is its circular tombs. These stone-ringed graves, carefully arranged across the landscape, suggest a culture deeply concerned with ritual, ancestry, and the afterlife. Human remains and grave goods recovered from these tombs indicate complex burial practices, including offerings of pottery, personal ornaments, and occasionally tools. The presence of these items hints at beliefs about death, continuity, and perhaps even social status, yet much remains uncertain. Did these tombs serve purely ceremonial purposes, or were they markers of political or familial authority? And what did the selection and placement of grave goods signify to the people who interred their dead here? Beyond the tombs, the foundations of dwellings and larger structures reveal a remarkable level of planning. Rectangular and circular buildings, some connected by pathways and courtyards, suggest organized urbanization far beyond simple subsistence living. Walls built of stone and mud brick display precise alignment and thoughtful orientation. Some researchers have suggested that certain structures may have functioned as communal spaces, ceremonial platforms, or administrative centers. Could these arrangements reflect an early understanding of civic planning, social organization, or even the regulation of labor and resources? And how much of this knowledge has been lost, buried under layers of sand and millennia of transformation? Hili's water systems further deepen the mystery. The settlement was situated in a desert environment, yet evidence suggests that its inhabitants developed techniques to capture and distribute scarce water, likely drawing from underground sources or seasonal floods. Irrigation, cisterns, and channels may have enabled not only survival, but agriculture, allowing the community to thrive in an otherwise unforgiving landscape. How did these ancient engineers conceptualize and implement such systems? And what degree of experimentation or inherited knowledge was required to sustain life in such a challenging environment? The site also invites speculation regarding its ceremonial and astronomical significance. Some tombs and stone arrangements appear aligned with cardinal points or solstitial directions, hinting that the people of Hili may have observed celestial cycles. Could the settlement have functioned not only as a residential hub but as a center of ritual observation, where life, death, and time were intertwined with the movements of the sun, moon, and stars? Did these alignments reflect religious belief, agricultural necessity, or a sophisticated system of knowledge now largely lost to history? Artifacts uncovered at Hili add to the sense of enigma. Pottery, stone tools, and ornaments reveal technical skill and aesthetic sensibility, yet they also provoke questions about cultural exchange, trade, and influence. Some items suggest connections to distant regions of the Arabian Peninsula and beyond, raising the possibility of networks of communication and commerce. Did the people of Hili trade their knowledge as well as goods, transmitting architectural techniques, ritual practices, or astronomical observations across vast desert distances? And if so, what ideas might have been preserved, transformed, or lost in the process? The scale and precision of the site suggest that a coordinated workforce was necessary for its construction and maintenance. Who organized these communities, and what forms of leadership or social hierarchy enabled the execution of monumental projects in stone and mud brick? Were there priestly classes, craft specialists, or elite families responsible for overseeing ceremonial structures and tombs? And what rituals, beliefs, or cultural imperatives motivated the labor, dedication, and skill required to build Healy's enduring monuments? Even today, the desert seems to guard its secrets carefully. Sand shifts, vegetation spreads, and centuries of erosion have obscured much of the original settlement. Archaeologists rely on careful excavation, remote sensing, and analysis of surviving structures to reconstruct life at Healy, yet the full picture remains incomplete. Could further discoveries, buried tombs, hidden chambers, or previously unexamined foundations reveal new insights into the spiritual, social, or technological achievements of this early culture? How much of the knowledge encoded in stone circles, wall orientations, or artifact placement remains concealed, waiting to be interpreted? Visiting Healy, one cannot help but feel the weight of time pressing against the present. The stone rings of tombs, foundations of dwellings, and scattered artifacts evoke human presence and endeavor, yet the people themselves are silent, their voices absorbed into the desert wind. Standing amidst these remnants, observers are compelled to imagine daily life: families tending crops, craftsmen shaping tools, priests performing ceremonies, and communities marking the passage of time through the alignment of structures and observation of celestial cycles. What did these people see when they looked across the plain? And how did they understand their place in the cosmos, in the natural world, and within their community? The mysteries of Healy Archaeological Park extend beyond the visible structures. Did the circular tombs encode knowledge about lineage, power, or cosmology? Were the dwellings arranged to maximize social cohesion, ritual observance, or environmental efficiency? And what unexcavated areas, still hidden beneath sand, hold the keys to understanding a civilization that flourished thousands of years ago, yet left so much unexplained? The site endures as both a monument and a question. Each carefully placed stone, each tomb ring, each faint trace of a wall invites reflection on the ingenuity, adaptability, and spirituality of its builders. Healy demonstrates that even in seemingly harsh environments, human creativity and observation can produce structures that challenge our assumptions about the past, blending utility with ritual, survival with symbolic expression. As the sun sets over the desert plains, casting long shadows across tombs and foundations, one is struck by the enduring silence of Healy. It is a silence that speaks to the complexity of human endeavor, to the ingenuity and persistence of a people who navigated environmental extremes, social structures, and spiritual imperatives. And yet, for all that we have uncovered and studied, one cannot help but wonder what remains hidden beneath the sands, and what knowledge, rituals, or stories are still waiting to be revealed by patient observation, careful excavation, and a willingness to listen to the whispers of an ancient culture that has much to teach those who seek to understand it. From the sun-scorched tombs and foundations of Healy Archaeological Park, where the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula guard the memory of a vanished culture, our journey now crosses to the misted landscapes of Wales, to a site where stone, earth, and shadow converge in a monument of enduring mystery. Bryn Celli Ddu, perched on the rolling hills of Anglesey, is a Neolithic passage tomb whose presence feels almost alive, a quiet sentinel over centuries of human activity and natural change. The mound, modest in height yet extraordinary in significance, harbors a labyrinth of stone chambers, corridors, and carvings, inviting reflection on the rituals, beliefs, and astronomical knowledge of those who built it. Dating to approximately 3000 BC, Bryn Celli Ddu is part of a broader tradition of passage tombs that spans prehistoric Britain and Ireland. Unlike some of its larger, more famous counterparts, Bryn Celli Ddu retains a remarkable intimacy. A narrow passageway, roughly 20 meters long, leads into a stone-lined chamber, its walls bearing the marks of human craftsmanship and, perhaps, intention. The tomb was originally surrounded by a circle of standing stones, partially reconstructed and preserved, suggesting that the site held ceremonial significance beyond the interment of the dead. But the full purpose of the structure remains elusive. Was it primarily a burial place, a ritual center, an astronomical observatory, or all three simultaneously? The architecture itself is a study in deliberate precision. Stones carefully placed to form the passageway fit together with a thoughtfulness that emphasizes orientation, alignment, and experience. On certain days of the year, sunlight penetrates the entrance and illuminates the inner chamber, a phenomenon that appears too precise to be accidental. During the summer solstice, for instance, the rising sun floods the chamber with light, connecting the tomb to the cycles of the heavens in a dramatic interplay of light and shadow. Could this alignment reflect a deep understanding of astronomy, embedded into the very stones of the monument? Did the builders intend for the passage to serve as a calendar, a ritual marker, or a symbolic connection between the living, the dead, and the cosmos? Beyond the alignment, the chamber itself suggests complex symbolic intent. Inside, archaeologists have found evidence of cremated remains, flint tools, and carefully placed stones, hinting at ritualized behavior surrounding death and ancestry. The interplay of space, stone, and light appears to orchestrate a sensory experience: movement through the passageway, the narrowing and widening of the corridor, the shadows cast upon walls. All these elements seem designed to engage the observer physically, emotionally, and spiritually. What did it feel like to enter this tomb 3, 4, or 5,000 years ago? How did the people who constructed it experience the merging of stone, ritual, and sunlight in ways that connected them to their environment, their ancestors, and the sky above? The history of Bryn Celli Ddu also carries echoes of transformation. The site was modified over time. Initial structures were altered, stones were shifted, and the mound itself was reconstructed in later centuries. These changes suggest evolving ritual practices, social structures, or interpretations of sacred space. How did each generation understand the monument? Did the tomb's meaning shift, adapting to changing cosmologies, social hierarchies, or ceremonial practices? And might these successive layers of human activity encode a deeper narrative, one that bridges multiple millennia and cultural perspectives? Some of the site's most enigmatic features lie in its carvings. Subtle motifs on stones, lines, spirals, and patterns hint at symbolic or perhaps cosmological meaning, yet the significance of these markings remains debated. Were these designs purely decorative, intended to honor the dead, or did they serve as a map of the heavens, a record of ritual knowledge, or even a coded system understood only by initiates? And if such knowledge was encoded in the stones, what else might have been lost to time, eroded by wind and water, or removed by subsequent generations? The mound's relationship to its surrounding landscape adds another layer of intrigue. Bryn Celli Ddu is situated on a slight rise, commanding views of the surrounding fields, hills, and nearby watercourses. Such placement was likely deliberate, linking the monument to both terrestrial and celestial landmarks. Could the builders have intended the site to act as a territorial marker, a place of communal gathering, or a point of connection between human and cosmic cycles? And what does this alignment reveal about the broader social, spiritual, or environmental consciousness of Neolithic peoples in Anglesey? Excavations have revealed complex layering within the mound itself. Beneath the passage tomb lies evidence of an earlier circular stone arrangement, a henge-like structure, suggesting that Bryn Celli Ddu was built atop an even older sacred site. This continuity implies that the location held enduring significance, perhaps as a focal point of memory, ritual, or cosmology over generations. Did each successive structure seek to honor its predecessors, incorporate older sacred knowledge, or assert continuity with ancestral tradition? And how much of this layered history remains hidden beneath the earth, beyond the reach of current archaeology. The construction of Bryn Celli Ddu would have required coordinated labor, knowledge of stoneworking, and an understanding of geometry and spatial planning. How did Neolithic communities organize the work, allocate resources, and transmit knowledge across generations to achieve such precision and alignment? Was the tomb the product of communal effort, overseen by specialized leaders or ritual experts, or a combination of both? And what cultural or spiritual imperatives drove these people to invest so deeply in a structure whose significance we struggle to fully comprehend today? Even today, the tomb exerts a quiet, almost palpable presence. Visitors moving through the passage feel the deliberate narrowing and widening of the corridor, the shift of light as the sun travels across the sky, and the cool stillness of the chamber. The experience evokes reflection on mortality, the cycles of nature, and the interplay between human endeavor and the celestial rhythms that shaped daily life in the Neolithic. What might it have felt like for the builders? For the dead laid to rest within, or for those who observed ceremonial practices here? How did the interaction of light, stone, and human movement shape perception, ritual, and understanding? Speculative perspectives invite further wonder. Some have suggested that the passage tomb's alignment and carvings encode sophisticated astronomical or symbolic knowledge, perhaps guiding seasonal rituals or marking solstices and equinoxes with precision. Others propose that the site functioned as a sacred theater of consciousness, where movement through space was designed to initiate participants into ritual understanding or cosmological insight. While these ideas remain unverified, they illustrate the depth of mystery embedded in Bryn Celli Ddu, a place where purpose, practice, and perception intertwine across time. The site continues to challenge and inspire. Each stone, each carved groove, each angle of light carries whispers of knowledge, ritual, and intent. Bryn Celli Ddu demonstrates that even in small, intimate monuments, prehistoric peoples invested extraordinary thought, labor, and meaning, linking earth, stone, and sky in ways that endure across millennia. And yet, for all we have learned from excavation and study, one cannot help but wonder. What remains unseen, encoded in shadows, buried beneath the mound, or lost to time? How many secrets of ritual, cosmology, or social practice still lie dormant, waiting for those patient and perceptive enough to uncover them? Bryn Celli Ddu stands as a testament to human ingenuity, observation, and reverence, a Neolithic monument that invites both awe and reflection. Its passage, chambers, and subtle carvings are not merely relics of the past, but questions in stone. As the wind stirs the grasses surrounding the mound, and sunlight slowly traverses the passage, the monument continues to speak quietly, insistently, to those willing to pause, observe, and wonder. What truths remain hidden here? And how much more might this enigmatic tomb reveal about the minds, beliefs, and knowledge of those who shaped it so carefully thousands of years ago? From the misted hills of Anglesey, where Bryn Celli Ddu stands as a passage tomb aligned with the cycles of the sun, we now return to the deserts and oases of the Arabian Peninsula. Here, in the rugged mountains and fertile valleys of what is today the United Arab Emirates and Oman, lies Wadi Al-Ayn, a site of remarkable antiquity and enigmatic purpose. Unlike the solitary stones of Wales, this landscape is defined by a vast interplay of water, rock, and settlement, an oasis that has been a cradle of human ingenuity for millennia. The site invites reflection not only on human adaptability, but on the ways in which early societies sought to impose order, ritual, and meaning upon an often unforgiving environment. Wadi Al-Ayn is part of a broader cultural landscape known as the Hafid period, dating to roughly 3,200 to 2,600 BC, later evolving into the al-Nar culture. The site is distinguished by a series of circular tombs, stone-lined wells, and evidence of early settlement, all situated within a natural depression flanked by rocky hills. The arrangement of tombs, pathways, and water channels suggests careful planning, a knowledge of hydrology, and an awareness of environmental constraints that allowed communities to thrive in a desert setting. Yet the purpose of many features remains uncertain, and the reasons for such precise organization invite both scholarly study and imaginative speculation. The tombs themselves are striking. Circular and sometimes clustered, they are constructed of carefully fitted stones, forming chambers that could accommodate multiple interments. Excavations have revealed human remains, pottery, beads, and other artifacts, hinting at ritualized practices surrounding death and remembrance. Some tombs contain evidence of cremation, others of inhumation, suggesting a variety of mortuary practices coexisting in the same culture. How did these differences arise? Were they expressions of social hierarchy, regional variation, or evolving beliefs over centuries? And what did the builders understand about life, death, and the spiritual world that guided the placement, orientation, and construction of these tombs? Water plays a central, almost mystical role at Wadi Al-Ayn. Springs and wells, carefully engineered and protected by stone, provided a lifeline in an arid landscape. These features indicate sophisticated knowledge of local geology and hydrology. How did early inhabitants locate and harness these water sources? Was their understanding purely practical, or did it carry ritual significance, with water acting as a symbol of life, purification, or connection to the divine? Some researchers suggest that the arrangement of tombs and water channels may reflect a deliberate integration of spiritual and practical concerns, linking the cycles of life, death, and survival in ways we have yet to fully decipher. The stone circles and settlements at Wadi Al-Ayn also reveal a careful awareness of orientation and landscape. Many tombs and structures are aligned with cardinal points, suggesting possible solar or lunar observations. Could these alignments have functioned as a calendar, marking seasonal shifts for agriculture or ceremonial observance? Or were they expressions of cosmological belief, encoding a worldview in stone and earth that bridged the human and celestial realms? And if so, what knowledge has been lost to time, buried beneath sand, wind, and millennia of human activity? Artifacts recovered from the site add further layers to the mystery. Pottery with intricate patterns, stone tools, beads, and ornaments indicate not only technical skill but aesthetic sensibility. Some items hint at long-distance connections, suggesting trade networks extending across the Arabian Peninsula and possibly beyond. Did these exchanges carry only goods, or did they transmit ideas, ritual practices, or architectural knowledge as well? And how much of Wadi Al-Ayn's sophistication remains hidden, waiting for archaeologists to uncover subtle clues embedded in stone alignments, artifact placement, or settlement patterns? The social and ceremonial structures at Wadi Al-Ayn suggest a complex community. Coordinating the construction of tombs, wells, and communal spaces would have required leadership, organization, and shared knowledge. Were there specialized classes, perhaps religious or political leaders, orchestrating these projects? Or was the labor communal, a collective effort guided by tradition and experience? And how did these social structures evolve over generations, leaving traces not only in stone but in the spatial and ceremonial organization of the landscape? Some of the most intriguing aspects of Wadi Al-Ayn are the mysteries that resist easy explanation. Certain tombs are unusually large or intricately constructed, hinting at exceptional significance. Stone arrangements in clusters or linear patterns provoke speculation about symbolic meaning, ritual processions, or territorial markers. Can we discern patterns that reflect early maps of the heavens, genealogical records, or systems of ritual knowledge? Or are these alignments the product of pragmatic concerns, such as topography, drainage, or access to water? The ambiguity invites us to consider both practical and symbolic dimensions simultaneously. The site's enduring presence raises questions about memory, continuity, and loss. Wadi Al-Ayn was used and reused over centuries, its tombs, wells, and ceremonial spaces adapting to changing needs and beliefs. This continuity suggests that certain locations held sacred or strategic significance beyond immediate utility. Did the Hafit and al-Nar peoples recognize layers of memory and ritual encoded in the landscape? How consciously did they preserve these sites for future generations? And what knowledge might have been deliberately embedded in stone, water, and earth? Even today, walking among the stone tombs and ancient wells, one senses the interplay of environment, culture, and time. The desert wind scours the rocky terraces, the sunlight casts elongated shadows across circular graves, and the subtle hum of history seems to echo through the hills. It is a place where human ingenuity and environmental adaptation intersect with ritual, belief, and cosmic awareness. What did it feel like to inhabit this oasis thousands of years ago, to construct tombs with careful orientation, to tend wells that sustained both body and spirit? Speculative theories invite further reflection. Some propose that Wadi Al-Ayn's circular tombs and waterworks encoded cosmological knowledge, serving as observatories or ritual centers that tracked celestial movements. Others suggest symbolic or spiritual interpretations, with water, stone, and burial aligned to mark the passage of life and the connection between living and dead. While such ideas remain speculative, they underscore the sense that Wadi Al-Ayn was conceived with intention, an environment shaped by knowledge, belief, and observation that resonates across time. As with so many ancient sites, Wadi Al-Ayn challenges modern observers. We can measure walls, map tombs, analyze artifacts, and model water systems, yet the lived experience of its builders, their beliefs, ceremonies, and daily lives remains largely beyond reach. What did it feel like to inhabit this landscape, to interpret the cycles of sun, water, and community? How did the alignment of tombs, the flow of wells, and the placement of ceremonial stones shape understanding and perception? And perhaps most provocatively, how much remains hidden beneath the sand, awaiting discovery by patient and observant eyes? Wadi Al-Ayn endures as both a monument and a question. Its tombs, wells, and circular arrangements convey ingenuity, ritual awareness, and environmental adaptation, yet they resist complete interpretation. The site exemplifies a human desire to understand, organize, and sanctify space, linking survival with ceremony, practical knowledge with symbolic meaning. And as the sun sets behind jagged hills, casting long shadows across the tombs and water channels, one is left to wonder. What knowledge, ritual practices, or cosmic understanding are still encoded in these stones and buried beneath the desert sands, waiting for the patient and perceptive to uncover them?